Meets World. Now I get it.
Hello and welcome to the Invincible Podcast, probably the best superhero podcast in the universe. This is a show where friends get to sit around and talk all things Invincible, a comic book by Robert Kirkman, Corey Walker, and Ryan Ottley. I almost messed it up there, didn't I, Bill?
How you doing? Lorenzo De Felici.
Lorenzo De Felici. I'm going to be your host, Ryan. Joining me is Bill.
Hi, everyone.
And TJ.
It's TJ.
How you guys doing?
Doing good. TJ has a beard, everybody.
It's not, I wouldn't call it a beard.
It's scruff.
It's a little scruff.
More facial hair than you've ever had, and it's outlining your face.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
I've never had any interest in facial hair. But
it looks like it doesn't have any interest in
for
your hair.
myself,
Sorry,
I should specify in
just a funny
growing facial hair. But yeah, I'm trying it out. I'm gonna wait another couple weeks and either shave it all or maybe just like keep down here. I don't know. We'll see. Can you hear that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you can hear it. I wonder if mine sounds
What's
different.
That? What is it called? SMA? Like,
ASMR?
is that what it is? Where they're like peeling?
Yeah.
Peeling Velcro.
Ooh, stop. I don't like that. Stop. You're making me uncomfortable.
No.
Being in the same room with someone doing that is not fun.
Oh, yeah. It's
Okay,
worse than hearing it. So, yeah, like I said, we are the Invincible Podcast. You can email us at theinvinciblepodcast@gmail.com. You can find us on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Spotify. Our website is theinvinciblepodcast.com. We are also the Oblivion Song Podcast, but that's on a little bit of a hiatus right now.
Kind of.
So if you haven't heard the Oblivion Song podcast, well, the Oblivion Song, the comic book is taking what is it officially 4 months or 3?
June.
They'll be back in June.
Back in June. So we'll be back in June with that podcast.
The last issue was February, so 4 months. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, we posted on Twitter that, and we said in the podcast that we're going to be taking a little bit of a break because we go live. We send out an episode after the newest issue comes out, and we
it's
got a
kind of
lot
nice
of
having
feedback.
that. It's kind of nice having that like episode 24, issue 24.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's nice being able to have that consistency.
But we got some feedback of people that weren't happy with us taking a break, so which
So
is nice.
We're thinking of ways to do a little something, a little bonus episode, a little something special.
a little something.
Yeah, and it will not be numbered.
Well, no.
Numbered.
Just like
Right,
we've done non-numbered
It'll be a
episodes of
bonus
this
episode.
podcast.
What it'll end up being is little something for our 2-year anniversary and for our upcoming 25th episode.
That's right.
So yeah.
Because it's the 25th issue coming out next, which is a great time to jump into Oblivion Song if you haven't read it yet.
Yep.
So winter,
Faux show.
isn't the trade coming out, or did it?
In a couple weeks.
Okay.
Yep.
It's weird that it didn't come out at the...
No, it always comes out the following month.
Oh, it comes out with the first issue of the next thing, right?
Yes.
But in this case, yeah. So it's going to be out in a couple weeks, so you could get all caught up if you're reading in trade format. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about Invincible's appearances and other comics, but before that, a couple little news and what's going on in the Invincible universe, if you will. One thing that came up was a video by What Culture Comics. This was brought to our attention by Ben over from the Nerds Chatting podcast. And this was a video, like I said, it's by What Culture Comics. You can find it over on YouTube. It's called 10 Invincible Moments That Shocked the World. Did either of you guys get to watch it?
I watched it. I thought it was an older video.
Really?
It was from a while ago.
I did not see a date on it, and I don't think I've talked about it on this show, so I assumed...
Now, the woman who was hosting that, is she on other thing? Is she like on IGN?
No, I don't.
Like she's not IGN
Europe
or something like that?
Yeah, I don't recognize her from IGN, so I don't know.
It could just be like my stupid American ears, you know what I mean? That every English person sounds the same to me, you know what I mean? Where I can't differentiate, but she sounded really, really familiar.
Really?
Like she does game reviews or something.
I'm trying to check right now what date that was posted.
If you're on YouTube, you can just see.
So yeah, I'm looking at published February 29th, 2020. So that is new.
That's new.
But she did a really good job.
Image Comics' phenomenal Invincible series. It's best described as what would happen if you took a hero like Superboy.
Yeah.
Or Spider-Man.
So she goes through and talks about, like I said, 10 Invincible moments that shocked the world. I thought she did a very good job. It's very well written.
What's her name?
Crap, I have it right here. It's her Twitter handle is at Zemiskel, Zemiskel. It's Zoe Miskelly.
Does it say anything about what she does or what she's... No? Man, that's gonna... What's her name? Zoe
Miskelly.
Miskelly. Okay,
Yep.
I'll look that up. Moving on.
So yeah, it was like I said, very well written and very well edited as well. It was a pleasure. It's always fun seeing other people talking about Invincible and putting together long form written things like that. So I enjoyed it very much. So thanks, Ben, for bringing that to our attention.
Oi!
Speaking of videos, though, there was also the video that Robert Kirkman did. It was an interview with Jason Latour on his video series called The Drawl. That's DRAWL. You could find that over on YouTube as well.
Part 2 just came out.
Yeah, I was just watching it. I think I finished it before you guys got here. In part 2, he mentions capes. In the first one, he talks a little bit about Invincible and how his writing style when it comes to long form storytelling and putting little things in there and not talking about them for several issues and all that. So I'm excited to see the final third part. So enjoyed that very much. So check that one out. Other than that, just a fun little housekeeping thing that our 4th anniversary is going to be March 16th.
16th.
Yep.
Like what, coming Monday after next? Monday after this one?
Yep. So what are you thinking about, Bill? What day that falls on?
Yeah, it's Monday.
It's a Monday?
Yep.
So that's our 4-year anniversary. This is episode 82.
Wow.
It feels
4
like
years?
It feels like longer. I don't know what it is, but it feels like it's been longer than 4 years at this point, at least.
4 years is a long time if you think about it, though.
It's weird to think that when we started this, I was gearing up to get married. Like that, so it is a long time.
That's where you put it. You know what I mean? If you associate it with that, but
that was a long,
yeah. But it does not feel like it feels like it's been like 10 years. Like
like
most of my life, we've been doing this podcast.
I know.
That's what it feels like.
And it feels like half the time we've been also been doing Oblivion Song, which is crazy to me that we're going on 2 years for that one. So yeah. Hopefully we'll have.
What's weird? I'm bringing it back.
Go ahead.
What's weird is that we started the Oblivion Song podcast 1 month after Invincible ended. Invincible's only been gone for 2 years. That's weird to think about.
See, and does it feel shorter or longer?
It feels so long ago since we've had a new issue of Invincible.
It feels like Invincible ended a lot longer than 2 years ago.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah.
Isn't that
That's
weird?
It feels weird that we've been doing this without a new issue of Invincible or anything new for 2 years.
That's crazy.
just the random.
It says a lot of stuff about us, but it also says a lot of stuff about our fans. You know what I mean?
But mostly about us.
Yeah. We're just like grasping at straws here.
But we've got hopefully a video going up this month. I teased it a little bit last month, and I'm teasing it more a bit more right now. But
there's an animated series coming out. Yeah, well, like with the podcast too. Like there's an animated series coming out.
Yeah.
Whenever it does come out, we're gonna be here talking about it.
And we've said
movie news.
Yeah, we've said years ago that if there was ever a reason to stop talking about Invincible, we would. And we haven't found it yet, but we'll get there someday probably. But right now, there's still hope. But moving on, I did a little bit of a book report. So last month we talked about how I added to our website over at theinvinciblepodcast.com the kind of reading guide, which includes all of the appearances from Invincible and other comics. And I decided to find those issues and read them all. So what I'm going to do now is I'm kind of going to talk a little bit about each of those appearances, what they're like, what happens in them, the artists, and all that kind of stuff. And I took notes after reading each one. So I'm going to pull up my notes for each one and talk a little bit about each of them. Well, Bill and TJ fill the dead air while I do this. So I'm going to pull up the first one. You guys talk.
TJ, do you like the animated movie Storks?
I've never seen it, and I have no interest in seeing it ever in life.
All right. let me first say that Storks as an animated movie is one of the funniest animated movies I've ever seen.
Okay.
Up there with one of the funniest movies I've ever seen. I just found out not too long ago what else that director has directed. I'll give you
Avengers Endgame.
I'll give you 3 guesses, okay? The director of Storks, I died laughing.
When it comes to animated, he could have directed fucking anything.
One of your favorite comedies of all time. You get 2 guesses. Go.
Forgetting Sarah Marshall?
Yes. He fucking directed Forgetting Sarah Marshall, Get Him to the Greek. He also directed, I think he directed the first Muppet movie too. Maybe even the second Muppet movie. Let me see here. He directed Forgetting Sarah Marshall, Get Him to the Greek, Neighbors 1 and 2, Storks, and yeah, that's it. And then he was like a writer on. Isn't that crazy though? Because I was like, man, I really like that movie because we were watching it and I was like, you know how you fall down the rabbit hole on IMDb, and he fucking directed Forgetting Sarah Marshall,
Which is an amazing movie. It's such a good movie.
So imagine the like Forgetting Sarah Marshall and how good that is, and how funny that, like, the funniest moments of that. Storks has that kind of humor, dude.
Then
It's
why haven't I
crazy.
not like heard anything about Storks? Why
Come
is
over
it
my house and
nothing?
watch it. Come over my house and watch it.
Why is it nothing?
Come over
Why
my
is
house
it-
and watch it. We'll watch it together without kids.
We still need the 3 of us to watch fucking Dr. Sleep.
That's true. Okay, and on that note, TJ, you get the next segue, so start thinking about what you want to do.
So
already know I'm
first
gonna ask you
comic that Invincible appears in is for my little Invincible like book report. He guest starred in Noble Causes. So Noble Causes number 3 is kind of touted as one of the first appearances of Invincible. Both Noble Causes number 3, Tech Jacket, and an issue of Savage Dragon. It was like 127 or something like that. But anyways,
The first like
appearance.
So this was before the comic even came out.
those 3 comics that I just said, yeah, the Noble Cause is number 3, Tech Jacket number 1, and then an issue of Savage Dragon. All 3 of them have a kind of cameo, I think. So I think because Tech Jacket and Savage Dragon came out before this issue of Noble Causes, they're not considered the first one. I think Noble Causes number 3 kind of is the one that's kind of regarded as the first appearance because Invincible actually appears in it. It's not that there's a preview for Invincible number 1 in the back. It's that he actually appears in it as a character.
I was gonna. We've talked about this before about how I said like, you have to promote a comic book that's coming out. So I would never think of that as the first appearance. It just being an ad.
Yeah, so
that makes more sense now.
It's that's one thing that I never quite knew why it was considered one or the other. So the first time he actually appeared in a physical comic, even though it was a preview, was one of the other ones. But Noble Causes number 3 being one where the character actually makes an appearance.
That's the first time he's ever made an appearance in any comic book, right?
Even before his own.
Then I consider this the first appearance of Invincible.
Yeah, that's what I would say too. Not with.
Which is why this issue is insanely expensive, and I had to find it online in order to actually read it.
How much was it online? $3?
$3?
Digitally?
Yeah, but the Noble Causes number 3 actually has the variant, which has an image of it. So it's a recreation of Days of Future Past, you know, with Wolverine and Kitty Pryde on the cover, with all the different mutants behind them. But on this one, instead, you know, with there being Savage Dragon and Super Patriot and Shadowhawk and everything, there is actually an Invincible, even though his color scheme is like way off.
Yeah. Well, it's white.
It almost looks like
yellow.
It's like they hadn't
it
made up
almost
their
looks like
mind
it's
yet.
burnt out, like from the light, but it's
Right.
just it just looks a little off. Regardless, though, in that comic, so in number 3 of Noble Causes, Family Secrets is actually the tagline under it. There's a character that's looking for another character named Zephyr. Now you'll find, like, we're gonna learn more about Zephyr. This is her right here on the cover of 37. You're gonna hear more about her coming up, but there's someone looking for Zephyr, and it's the person it shows him going up to a bunch of different characters from the Image universe. You know, he goes up to Spawn, he goes up to Witchblade, blah blah blah, and he goes up to Invincible. It's just one small panel, and he goes up to Invincible and asks if he knows where Zephyr is, and Invincible says, "No, I don't, but if you have her number," and then that was it. That's all.
At what could you determine a point in the Invincible series that this takes place in Noble Causes?
The one that in the one that I just talked about, it would have been early days, probably within, you know, before Nolan's turn.
The art actually looks rather Cory Walker-ish.
So you're looking at a different issue, but yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So number 3, I don't have the access
right.
to
That's
because
right.
that one's crazy expensive. And it's called Noble Causes Family Secrets, number 3, which was kind of its subplot.
Mm-hmm.
When it became a regular series, which was years later, it was just called Noble Causes. And then that one was years later, and Invincible made another appearance in both issues 5 and 37. I should clear up that Noble Causes is by Jay Faerber, if I am pronouncing his last name right. Probably not Farber. I don't know. It's an AE. Regardless, he's the writer on this, and someone who Kirkman has actually said to us directly on Twitter that in early days of Invincible, he kind of had a pseudo universe with Jay Faerber and his universe and stuff like that, which is why you've seen a lot of appearances by Noble Causes characters and that universe that Jay created in Invincible. But moving on, I'm going to tell you quickly about issue 5 and issue 37, both of which Invincible appears on the cover of. Issue 5, he appears, and it even says guest starring Invincible. It is the yellow and blue costume, so that puts it at before issue 50-ish, 51, I guess it would be more accurate. But in issue 5, Invincible helps stop a villain from robbing a bank. He punches him too hard and he nearly gets away. You know what I mean? Like it's just a quick thing. I think they're in a mall. Invincible shows up randomly, knocks out a bad guy and knocks him through the wall. And they joke a little bit about how he must have hit him way too hard. And then he flies off and he's like, oh yeah, I'm sure you guys had it covered. And that was it. It was just a quick little cameo type thing. There's a little bit more in issue 37. Now, this is obviously going from 5 to 37 years later, and this is during Black Suit Invincible.
And the cover
is
Ottley.
100%.
That's Ottley.
Yeah, 1,000%.
There it is. 2008.
Yep, Ottley 2008, and that's Zephyr with him. So I'm gonna look at my notes a little bit. You guys can flip through that. Obviously Invincible is on the cover. Ottley did the cover. So at one point, Zephyr, that character.
Ooh, Zephyr's kind of...
Is she the main character of Noble Causes?
She's one of the main characters. Noble Causes is about two families of... a family of heroes and a family of villains, roughly, right? And it's kind of like the drama that goes on between them. So at one point, Invincible interrupts a meeting between Slate, which is Zephyr's husband, and Zephyr's husband's sister, who's a bad guy, right?
Girl.
Yes, Dusk is her name. So Dusk and her family of villains, they're the Blackthorns. They're trying to expand their territory into Baltimore, and Mark shows up, and he doesn't like that because Baltimore, as this goes on to further prove, is Mark's hometown. Mark is from Baltimore, and so the villains are trying to move into Baltimore, and
Does it say Baltimore?
Yes.
And it says that Invincible lives
Yes.
there. Kirkman said that it's never been confirmed.
I know. It's weird. I don't know why he's
Maybe
always
by
been...
him it's never been confirmed.
Is this considered canon?
I think so.
I mean, within this book it is because he has the black suit and stuff like that. But
We've always known it was Baltimore.
Yeah, it's totally Baltimore.
Because of the areas around that Ottley draws.
So Mark shows up because he's going to bring her to prison. Zephyr then shows up, who's, that's the guy's wife, and it's the sister-in-law, basically, that she's trying to break up this fight. She actually shows up, calls him Vince.
I just said, Vince, been a long time.
Yep. Gives him a hug, because remember, she was quickly in, like, they're in issue 3, they asked if he knew where she was, so there is that kind of connection there.
He does say in here, Zeph, please don't call me Vince.
Sorry. They have some history that I haven't talked about yet.
Okay.
So we're going to get into those issues in a little bit. But Mark and Zephyr know each other pretty well.
If they have history, shouldn't we already know that by now?
They actually formed a team. Yes, but I'm not going chronologically in my little report. I kind of am because that first Noble Causes was first, but something happened in between these issues because these issues that I'm talking about now are years apart. So anyways, Zephyr shows up, calls him Vince, gives him a hug. Slate sees this hug, punches Mark because he's jealous about her going around hugging other guys or something. There's a huge fight between Zephyr's husband, which is this. He almost looks like Titan. He's this big rock guy.
He looks like Darkseid. Like he looks like he could
I
be
was
a mix
thinking
between
Darkseid on the cover.
And because it's a little bit more spiky.
That's what I was thinking on the cover.
Yeah. So they actually have this really huge fight. It's actually really good, where they're throwing.
Holy shit! He throws a cement truck at him.
Yep.
Or
Zephyr shows up and breaks it up. And Mark leaves to go chase down Dusk, who then obviously got away in the amidst all of this, and Mark
skirmish
and,
in the skirmish.
in the skirmish, and then Mark and Slate kind of go like, "Hey, thanks for the workout," and they go their separate ways.
Does it in this so far? Did it sound like Mark?
This issue I think did very much. Like obviously in Noble Cause's Family Secrets #3 and Noble Cause's #5.
He wasn't.
It wasn't in far enough. It didn't really sound like Mark. It was just him popping in, like, "Hey, thanks," and then him bouncing. Like, sure, it sounds like Mark because he's like being fun about it. But this issue,
just popping in, buy my new series coming out soon.
Yeah, exactly. But this issue actually felt like a legitimate, character moment that he had.
It looks like it's almost as much as Wolfman, like between those two comics.
Yeah, no, he's in the entire issue.
He's in almost the entire issue, minus like maybe the first 2 pages or some shit like that.
Yeah, a little bit of sketches in the back of
his first appearance in that with the sun. Coming behind him. It looks really, really good. That's really awesome.
Yeah, that's cool.
Like, so there's a full page spread of. Is he on a cell phone? Is he on like his
he's on the phone.
phone?
Yeah. Yep. So the art is Yildere Sinar. So that is Noble Causes. I'll be right back with more.
So segue with TJ and Bill.
Do we have a new jingle?
Sure.
Okay, go.
Would you rather eat actual shit that tastes like chocolate, or chocolate that tastes like actual shit?
That's interesting. I think I'd rather eat the chocolate that tastes like shit.
So basically, you're eating shit. I mean.
Well, that's the whole perception versus reality thing. If I were to close my eyes, now is the consistency like? Is it a turd?
Oh, it's got the peanuts in it and everything.
Okay, so it's like if you were to shit in my hand, like a nice you've had enough fiber, it's not loose, it's like a solid turd, right? Yeah. And I were to close my eyes with the turd and take a chunk out of it, it's the consistency of shit.
Yes.
But it tastes delicious.
Yes.
Okay, but if I had like a candy bar, like a Hershey's candy bar,
and
I take a bite into that would be like eating shit.
Shit that was sitting in your hand. Yeah, like real shit.
I don't think that I could take a piece of shit where I know where it's come from and eat it even though it tastes delicious.
But what actual shit must taste like?
Now you have me interested.
I think we need to start a new podcast on this.
What does this taste like?
Please do, because I don't want it to be this one.
You wanted this, Ryan. You wanted this segue segment. Segue segment.
The segue segment.
The segue segment.
We have our the segue segment.
All right. I'm putting a pause on it because I'm ready to talk about.
Your answer, Ryan.
I'm ready to talk. I'm ready to talk about the next comic. This is a 4-part series that all of us here have read at least one part of. This is The Pact. And The Pact was a 4-part miniseries by 4 different creators over at Image Comics. So we've got, it's 4 characters from their own thing. So we've got Jim Valentino doing, which one? Was it Shadowhawk? And then obviously Zephyr from Noble Causes, which is Jay Fairbear. We've got Firebreather, and Firebreather was, why can't I think of his name? Phil Hester, Phil Hester, and Shadowhawk, Jim Valentino, yep, and then obviously Invincible, but that isn't done by Ryan Ottley or Corey Walker in this sense. That one is done by
Jason Howard, and that was in the back of a comic, wasn't it?
Yes, this is collected in the trades for Invincible. So whether it's
Jason Howard did Astonishing Wolfman.
Yes,
and also Trees.
So
more pertaining to
not
Robert
Trees.
Kirkman.
Yeah, he did Trees.
Did he do Trees?
Yeah, he did Trees.
And then he recently did Cemetery Beach, which ended, right? It was like
I think Trees is ending too, actually. Yeah.
Oh no! I'm out of my drink.
You can have some of this bourbon honey whiskey stuff that I'm drinking.
So I'm
Was
going to
that
talk.
Tether Tyrant in there?
Yes.
No shit.
So I'm going to talk a little bit about the pact. So again, like I said, it was the 4 of those creators that kind of got together and said, "Here, use my character," and they're going to form their own little team. So it is a little bit of a mini series of a team up between those 4 characters: Shadowhawk, Firebreather, Zephyr, and Invincible. And each of their creators wrote one of the issues.
But it's only those 4 characters.
Yes.
Okay. Mainly, I'm
Yes.
assuming. Okay.
Yep. So the first issue was by Jim Valentino, the creator and writer for Shadowhawk. And so in this one, the theme is that, or the issue goes that it's Father's Day, and each hero is shown doing their thing. After stopping some criminals, Eve asks Mark casually about whether or not he accepted or is going to accept Robot's offer to join the Guardians of the Globe. And Mark's unsure at the time, and he flies home to his mom, to Debbie. During this issue, we learn about Firebreather's dad, who is a dragon, and he's going crazy and he's attacking the city, and Mark shows up to help. During this fight, or at least after the fight, they all decide to join a team together, but not like the kind of team that actually has like the responsibilities. They just want a team of friends. They just want to be friends and hang out and stuff like that, because they don't get to hang out with other people their age that are also superheroes or something like that. So, and then and also at the end of the issue, Mark mentions that he has decided to turn down the offer to join the Guardians of the Globe.
Which is true.
Yeah. So that's issue 1. So issue 2, which is the one that is done by Jay Fairbairn, the creator of Noble Causes. So in this one, well, first of all, sorry, real quick, at the end of number 1, they mention Zephyr from Noble Causes mentions that they have her family, since they're super loaded, has a summer house on the moon, basically. So they say like they can go hang out on the moon base sometime.
I feel like the cover of this has to be a play on something. It looks
very
X-Men-ish.
I think they all are, because the first one is Fantastic Four. And that one I know is X-Men, I believe.
I feel like that one looks like X-Men.
I think it's Fantastic Four, but I'm not sure.
Maybe.
Either way. Yeah. But issue 2, Mark arrives at the Noble family moon base with pizza. They chat about how evil their fathers are and how cool being on the moon is, and like, Mark ruined the pizza on the way. I want to say at one point, right when he walks in, this is when she calls him Vince, where Zephyr calls him Vince.
Yeah.
So this all took place before that later Noble Causes issue, by the way.
Oh, that makes sense, because he's in his normal blue and yellow.
Yep.
Before he went back.
Yes. So this is all pre-issue 50 of Invincible. Mark does mention to her that he doesn't like being called Vince, I believe, in this one. So while they're talking and hanging out and complaining about evil fathers, an asteroid goes flying past the moon base, and Mark disappears, and it turns out he's trying to stop the asteroid. He's slowing it down, and
he pulls a Spider-Man 2, it looks like he's literally holding onto the asteroid. Yeah, he's saying it's too fast.
And he steers it towards a deserted area on Earth where no one can get harmed and it doesn't cause too much damage. And then he decides to call it into Cecil. While he's on the phone with Cecil, it's revealed that the asteroid is actually made up of monsters, like these rock monsters. The other members from the Pact, which is the team that's what they call themselves, they arrive and they fight. Firebreather joins Mark, but the other 2, Shadowhawk and Zephyr, are trapped on the moon by some of those rock monsters because they go through the portal. Mark and Firebreather fly above the monsters, and they combine to form one giant monster, all those rock monsters.
Mark and Firebreather don't combine.
No. Sorry, I know it sounded weird. But yeah, so they fly above, because it's kind of funny, because Mark and Firebreather are like, we could just fly above them. Like they can't get up here. But they all form into giant, rock.
I can't help but feel like it feels similar.
So the 2 things that you want me to tell you what's peak, like,
is
what's
it
hit you?
Wolfman?
Yes, there is.
Okay.
It's the rock monster things from Wolfman that
is?
that it's not. But it reminds
thing.
you, it reminds you of that, where they formed Gorg or whatever his name is. It also kind of reminds you of Brit with not Megalomaniac. What's his name? It's
The
something like that.
Magmaniac.
It's not
No,
Magmaniac either. It's the mind guy.
that makes the humans
Yeah,
into one
big
yeah.
creature like that.
That was awesome.
That was crazy.
That was really fucking cool in Brit. There aren't many things, but that was one of them.
Yep. Mark and Fire Breather each grab an arm or something like that, and they rip them in half and throw them into space. And that's really just kind of how it ends.
To make 2 more asteroids.
Yeah. There really wasn't much more to it than that. The action in it was good, though. I enjoyed that one. That was fun. Then we have issue 3, and this one's by Phil Hester, who does Fire Breather. And in this one was actually really interesting. It starts off, and there's a 4th member of the team named Petra. And she has this, like, telekinesis power and stuff like that. And we weren't introduced to her. She just showed up out of nowhere. They're all acting like they know her. And
Is this like a Buffy and Dawn kind of thing where, like, you've always had a sister?
I thought you were going to... Because I literally went to Buffy, too, but that's not what I went to.
what
What did
you
you
go
think
to?
of?
Do you remember... Right, Bill, you probably won't remember it. But do you remember a random episode, Ryan, where it literally started and that nerd from high school was, like, the greatest person? He was, like, a superhero.
Oh, yeah.
He was basically, like, the Slayer.
Yeah.
And
He was the one that was going to shoot up the school, right?
yes,
That one?
but
Okay.
later on, like, the episode opened up and he's, like, a different character. And you're like, what the fuck is going on? For, like, the first, like, 5-10 minutes. And then you realize, oh, it was, like, a spell. And, yeah.
Yeah. So in this one, the 4 normal members and this new member named Petra are all fighting this red demon thing. Dancing. No, it's not dancing. And Petra is actually talking to, like, this green omnipotent voice that's telling her what to do and how to do things and everything like that. And at one point, this red monster kills Zephyr. And Shadowhawk goes crazy because he was in love with her or something, or Mark was in love with her, and they're all acting like it was really bizarre, and I didn't know why. It felt like I missed something, or I didn't know what kind of story they were telling. It turns out that green spirit thing that she was talking to is her from the future that she communes with, and she was basically saying, like, she's a telepath, that she speaks to her future self. And what was supposed to happen was during that fight, she was supposed to sacrifice herself, but instead she chose not to actually go through with it, and Zephyr died as a result. And it turns out when she... What was it? She failed to sacrifice herself, and then she was shown the future as a result of her not sacrificing herself. And it's a future where all the superheroes are imprisoned, and Shadowhawk looks awesome, and Mark is in space, dead, I believe. He's, like, floating in space, dead, which was pretty cool. It looks like one of the Marks from the alternate dimension with the cape.
Oh, he does have a cape, yeah.
Yeah. And so she ends up going back in time to the moment in which she should have sacrificed herself instead, and it erases her from the timeline. So then we find out that in the actual timeline now, Fire Breather and Invincible are kind of like, hey, I don't know why, but I've had this dream where I remember someone's name named Petra, and Mark's like, yeah, I've had that dream before too. I don't know what it's all about, but I feel really thankful for that person. Yeah, she makes us proud, and then that's it.
I have a question.
Go for it.
That sounds like a really cool idea.
It was a really cool idea.
Yeah.
It was cool. So it's just interesting to think that, like, in the official Invincible canon kind of thing, this Petra character did exist, but because she sacrificed herself, she did something to the timeline that made her not exist anymore, and nobody remembers her except they kind of do.
I have a question.
Go for it, TJ.
I feel as though that Mark, at some point, in order to have a relationship with Zephyr, would had to have cheated on either Amber or Eve at some point. Because he went from Amber
never had
pretty
a
much directly.
He's never had a
to Eve.
relationship.
He didn't have a relationship with Zephyr. No. In these,
Would he have acted that way around
and
her
again, the only reason why I said
if he had a girlfriend?
the only reason why I said he might have was in this alternate reality. Other than that, they weren't. They're all good.
It seemed a little
Yeah.
close to me.
So now for issue 4, which is the one that we're all kind of somewhat familiar with. The cover is really funny. Play on them. Like, just Jason Howard is just awesome, and this looks really good. So in it, the Pact are helping a small town that's been attacked lately. They go underground to find the cause of what's been happening, and it turns out that they find the Magma Knights there, and they fight them. So if you skip forward a little bit, Bill, they go underground and find these guys. And you know what that means. So Doc Seismic shows up, and he actually thanks Mark. He gets down on his knees and he's thanking him for helping him. He said that he was a nobody and that he was out of his prime, and that fighting Mark, this was back in issue 12 or whatever of Invincible. This is early days. So this is all early Invincible. Remember when he fought Doc Seismic at the Mount Rushmore,
yeah.
and he falls down. He said that fighting him and him finding the Magma Knights, he found a place that he can call home, and he's happy to be there and everything like that. And he's a new man and everything like that. So Mark actually sucker punches him and knocks him out, and before he basically comes to his senses, because it's yeah, he's still crazy. Yeah, he's still a bad guy.
Yeah.
It's just because he's happier now because of what I did to him doesn't mean anything.
But wait, Ryan.
Yes.
What does he say when he punches Doc Seismic
He says
out?
invincible punch. Falcon punch. And they joke about it.
Punch.
They joke about it and say that it was corny and nobody liked it. But yeah. This is included in all the Invincible trades and stuff like that to explain how Doc Seismic goes from assumedly dead at the bottom of Mount Rushmore to in prison, which we later see him in prison. There's some really goofy mini comics in the back. There's some games. There's a little short comic. There's one about them as babies. There's a short comic about them teaching kids to duck and cover, because Mark might be fighting somebody. When there's a villain being fought,
Duck and cover.
It might be radioactive. So you might get vaporized like those kids right there.
Oh my god, that's hilarious.
There's a Tether Tyrant maze. It's Mark has to get home to dinner. Will he end up at Battle Beast, Tether Tyrant, or that Debbie at
It's
home
like
to dinner?
if you're at a restaurant,
yes,
and you
yes,
have
totally.
one of those mats.
Yep. And then there's a weird little
Invincible crossword.
crossword. Which go ahead and ask some of the questions, Bill.
What is Invincible's grandmother's weight? How red is the fire breather breathes? What is Zephyr's favorite brand of lipstick made of? Okay, so they're completely...
it's a joke.
Yeah.
And then at the back there's another short comic that's all about not smoking and what smoking and how it's bad. And so Mark uses Angstrom Levy to pull Zephyr from an alternate dimension where she's been smoking for 3 years or something like that, or smoking for only 2 years, and she looks
like a zombie.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. This is part of this comic though.
Yes.
Because the actual fight between Doc Seismic, in terms of that, was the shortest between all of them.
Yeah.
So this is because it's all Jason Howard doing all. Oh shit! Look.
Fire Breather's giving a description of how it's not cool to smoke, and it shows the Thing and Nick Fury and
Wolverine.
Yeah, Wolverine smoking with lines through him.
Funny.
Yeah, and then at the end is just Doc Seismic in prison,
saying "Phooey" once lights go out.
In the back is on the back there's a joke cover for the Pact issue 5, which is obviously never happened. They only did 4 issues, but it was a joke about Omni-Man crying at Mark's funeral, which at the time Omni-Man hadn't come back. He was not redeemed. There was no point to it. So Fire Breather's weren't you didn't you try to kill him? And he's it's complicated.
Mark Grayson's tombstone says, his name promised much, but it wasn't just right, for he turned out to be invincible, not quite.
It sounds like a tombstone at the Haunted Mansion.
Oh,
it's awesome.
Funny.
All right, that's it for the Pact. I'll be right back with more.
So
Segway with TJ and Bill.
It's a Segway segment with TJ and Bill.
What do you got?
So TJ, this could be considered something we could talk about after the podcast, but
Well, we have to talk about it during the segue.
okay. Did you finally fucking catch up on White Knight?
No.
Why?
God, Bill. TJ, you need to.
I think I might just
There's only
wait
one
until it's
more.
completely done.
You could do that now.
One issue,
by the
and
time
that,
There's
you
one
do it-
issue left, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then you could read the last issue as it comes out, not
Sure, I
wait
will.
for the whole thing. Ryan? And you can just kind of listen to this, but TJ, this Batman, White Knight and Curse of the White Knight, is as if Batman was written almost like if Kirkman was writing it. Like it feels like it as good as Invincible was, but just put Batman and Batman Universe stuff in it. Dude,
I got you guys into White Knight. Let's get that right.
Okay.
Right fucking now.
Okay.
I mean, I've read White Knight. I know the writing. I know Sean. I've read other things of Sean Gordon Murphy. I think he's awesome. I love
Curse of the White Knight.
Curse of the White Knight is great so far.
In terms of sequels, is the best sequel I've ever. Dude.
I know his writing. I know how awesome he is.
Me and Ryan were texting each other at like live texting, like as we were reading it, and I was like, I had to stop. I got to a point. It wasn't crazy. Nobody died. It was just something happened that, unfortunately, like you could say that it's bad, but like, Curse of the White Knight almost feels like pandering. Like it almost feels like fan service over and over and over again. But it's like an unlimited. Ultimate universe of Batman, you know what I mean? It's Murphy.
Like if they were to like go back to his origin story and
just completely do it all over again,
change something small, and
but a lot of
make it very impactful.
Yeah, and what?
I may have heard some stuff.
You did?
I didn't hear what it was. I didn't hear what it was. I just know something about his origin.
Anyways, to our listeners, even if you don't like Batman, just read White Knight and Curse of the White Knight. You don't have to have any association with any Batman
lore. It's very much its own story. It doesn't connect with anything.
Right, but if the only thing that you've ever done was watch the movies or watch the animated series, there's something in this for you.
For sure.
Both of them. It's fucking awesome.
Especially if you have watched the animated series.
Sean fucking Murphy loves the animated series.
And he brings that into White Knight constantly.
TJ's only talking about White Knight, not Curse of the White Knight.
I've read the first, how many issues are there of White Knight? Like 6 or 7? I've read the first 2.
Of Curse of the White Knight?
Yeah, and there's some animated series.
There's a lot of it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But there's more things. Which we'll talk about after you read it, unfortunately. Ryan, are you ready to come back?
I am ready. Here we go. So, first thing we are talking about is Supreme. Supreme, it's going to be issue 66 and 67. This is by Eric Larson, and this is, I'm trying to find the first image I want to show you guys.
Sounds familiar.
Because he's the creator of Savage Dragon.
Savage Dragon, yep.
There you go.
So, in issue 66, a character, and again, I just read these 2 issues, so I don't know characters' names or the meaning behind a lot of the stuff, but there's a character that realizes he is in another dimension. He's in a comic shop, and he asks about a character named Omni-Man. He's like, the only Omni-Man I know is the one in Invincible. And he shows him the issue, and it's the issue for 85 of Invincible.
And that's a Cory Walker cover, and it looks...
Yeah, but that's the actual cover.
Yeah, it's the actual. It's like the actual cover.
Yeah, they just inserted the cover into it, and so they talk about it being an image book and everything like that. So it's like Invincible is like the comic exists in that dimension, but which doesn't make a whole lot of sense based on what I'm about to say. So at one point at the end of that issue, Supreme, who is this character, it's, again Eric Larson's art here, Supreme is beating up Suprema. It's a female version or another female character.
His wife?
Sister, maybe? I don't know.
Maybe this is a
it's
domestic issue.
I think it's a sister.
Okay.
Regardless, they get into a huge fight, and then Omni-Man shows up and says, she's had enough. Like
in his coalition
and
costume.
He's grabbing his hand. And yes, this is coalition costume Omni-Man.
So no feet.
So
or no
a lot
boots.
of these, a lot of these images that I'm going to show you are a little bit out of order. But so the cover is pretty cool. It's Supreme versus Omni-Man. And for the most part here, let me find my notes. For the most part, it's just they fight. That's really just all my notes, is that there's just a really crazy fight between them. So I saved a couple of these images here to show you what some of these pages look like.
So is the guy that was looking at the comic book Supreme?
No, I don't think so.
No? Okay.
No. But yeah, the art was really good. Let's see. Some really cool pages. And it just ends with Supreme flying away or being taken away after, like, both him and Omni-Man kind of like knock each other out, and then these orbs come and take Supreme to their mothership, and Omni-Man is just left like wondering where he went. That is it for Supreme. I am ready to talk about the next one though, because that one's a quick one.
So there's no segue
You can do a
segment
quick
with
one.
TJ and Bill.
Bill, have you caught up on Watchmen?
No. The show?
Why?
I don't know.
It's so... Ryan, did you finish?
Oh yeah, I loved it. I
It's
couldn't stop watching it.
So
I knew I would.
unbelievably smart. Like, literally, people were like, yeah, I watched the first 2 episodes, it was okay. The reason why the first 2 episodes are just okay is because there's so much shit going on that you don't understand. And then, like, starting with, like, the 3rd episode, it really starts revealing one thing after the other, and it's just so stupid smart. And they'll just, like, put, like, a little thing in there, kind of like what Kirkman does. Like, he'll throw something small in there that you don't even think about, and then, like, issues and issues later, he'll bring it back and it'll be something much bigger than you originally thought. Watchmen does that so fucking well. I would say that Watchmen season 1 is one of the best single seasons I've seen of any show.
Wow.
Yeah, it was very, very good. The next comic I'm going to talk about is Dynamo 5. This is also by Jay Fairbear of Noble Causes. And this is another comic, another family of superheroes kind of in the universe of Noble Causes and everything. So to put that in perspective. The first issue, so this is Noble Causes Sins of the Father. Again, it was kind of broken up into arcs like that. So this is Sins of the Father 1 through 5. And Sins of the Father number 1 had a variant cover with Omni-Man on the cover.
And Supreme, it looks
Supreme,
like.
which is why I wanted to talk to you about Supreme first, and Dynamo. So, again, this comic is called Dynamo 5. Dynamo 5 is about the world's greatest hero, think of like an Omni-Man type of character, dies. And when he dies, his 5 illegitimate children inherit his different powers. So one will gain flight, one will gain strength, one will gain the ability to shape change and stuff like that, and so on. But they didn't know about each other because he had illegitimate children everywhere. So
That's kind of cool.
I thought it was a really cool idea. So the first issue starts with...
Looks like We Are Robin a little bit.
Oh, kind of. That guy does, yeah. So the first issue starts with a flashback, and it's going to be easier to explain it if you flip through it, Bill.
Okay.
So you flip through it. This is some giant alien creature. Dominix, yeah. And he wants to challenge Earth's greatest hero, right? So Dynamo flies towards to take on the challenge and runs into Omni-Man.
Oh.
Now, this is a flashback, keep in mind. So this is pre-Mark Omni-Man. And so he's flying along, and they joke about, oh, yeah, he wanted to fight the greatest hero on Earth. And they kind of have that little, joke.
Oh, shit, Cecil's in it.
And so
Dominix.
Cecil's in it with... What's that, TJ?
So Dominix is kind of like a battle beast.
Kind of in that
looking
he
for a
wants
fight,
it's
he
kind of
wants a
like
good challenge.
Chronodile too. It's like he just wants he's a bad guy. And so Nolan calls into Cecil, a very young Cecil with the long hair and everything like that. And
No scar.
No, he has a
Oh,
scar.
he does have a scar.
the Cecil agency, like the defense agency, has its own version in Dynamo, which is called Flag, Flag. But Cecil tells Omni-Man that they're going to work together. The defense agency and Flag, they're going to work together. So you and Dynamo should work together on this one. So they're like, oh, okay, that's fine. Let's go fight this
And
guy.
then they fly, and then Supreme is
Yeah,
there
then
too.
Supreme fights back.
This is kind of funny.
Because he's like, hey, I'm the strongest. And he gets immediately knocked away, like backhanded by what was his name? Dominix. And Dynamo and Omni-Man team up to attack this alien. And then present day, we find out that the children of this Dynamax alien have come back to Earth in order...
Dominix?
Yeah,
or
Supreme.
Dynamics. So again, this trade is called Sins of the Father. It's about the kids of Dynamo and the kids of Dominix.
Okay, got
fighting
it.
each other.
Got
So
it.
if you look, turn the page here. There's the kids of that guy. So you got the children of both of
Oh.
them. Sins of the Father. There you go. So
Fascinating.
issue 2.
Oh shit, and Invincible's in this one.
Yep. So
That makes sense. The father and the son.
yes.
Oh.
So it's all again. Yeah.
Isn't Sins of the Father something in Invincible? Isn't that like a title of
I
a
don't think
trade or
so.
something?
Nothing. No.
Yes.
So issue 2, Invincible is on the cover of the main cover. The flashback does continue. The big fight with Dominix continues. Savage Dragon's actually there too. So if you see in this really cool
Yep.
2-page splash of a flashback back in the day of these heroes fighting the Savage Dragon and stuff like that. And then back in present day, Flag makes a call to Cecil and asks for help. Cecil says the Guardians of the Globe are busy, so they ask, so they say, who can you send? They say, hey, we sent Dynamo 5 when all those alternate versions of Invincible attacked. Which, by the way, can you picture these people coming through during issue 60 to help fight all the Invincibles?
Yeah.
Because they were there.
Yeah.
So they say...
I was going to say, they looked familiar,
Yeah. So and there's the flashback of it. So they say, hey, we helped when all those Invincibles attacked. And Cecil says, all right, well, I'm not really on talking terms with Mark, but I'll see what I can do. Or with Invincible, but I'll see what I can do. Then later in the issue, Invincible meets up with Dynamo 5, and there is that cool flashback to the alternate Invincibles where Invincible says, hey, I'm Invincible. I know we haven't really met, but we kind of sort of have. And then it flashes to Invincible in that flashback, the evil one saying, my name is Invincible. I'd ask you for all your names, but you'll all be dead in a few minutes. And they're like, yeah, we've kind of met before, but not quite. Yeah. So there's that kind of comedic moment. And then we've got issue 3 with Invincible on the cover of that one. He's also on the cover of the variant. From here on out, for the rest of this trade, it's pretty thin on Invincible appearances. He helps them fight the aliens. These aliens fighting Mark ask him or they say, as a Viltrumite, have you claimed Earth yet? And they call him embarrassing for not basically, being a Viltrumite and not claiming Earth for his own. There's a cover to issue 4. The variant is actually done by Corey Walker for issue 4. In that, the fighting continues, and then in issue 5, the fighting ends, and after the fight, they comment that first there's the Invincible War, and now this, and talking about how all they do is constantly fight and then clean up after all these big fights. So it starts off, as far as Dynamo 5 and Sins of the Father and everything like that, I thought it started off really strong with a lot of Invincible references, and then it kind of, gave way, which is fine. It's not their comic. But it was a cool appearance and, some cool covers, some cool variants. And here, let me show you the Corey Walker variant. And I liked the characters. I liked the art. So this one right here on this side.
Corey Walker variant of what?
Of issue 4.
Of the cover
of this, Noble Causes.
Noble Causes. Huh.
I'm sorry, not Noble Causes.
Dynamo 5.
Dynamo 5, Sins of the Father. And then the issue 3 had a variant by
Savage Dragon guy.
Savage Dragon's
Eric Larson.
Eric Larson. Yep, with Invincible on that as well. So that is Dynamo 5. And I believe that completes the Fairbear tie-in universe stuff. So all the Noble Causes, the Pact, the Dynamo 5 and stuff like that. So when you see those characters in issue 60 of Invincible and all that kind of stuff, then you can kind of have a little bit more of a connection to them. So give me a minute. I'm going to pull up the next one. We're getting close. We're almost done.
It's the Segway segment with TJ and Bill. Go ahead, TJ. Do you have one?
Again?
Yeah.
What is your favorite Disney movie, Pixar era and up?
Pixar era?
Disney Pixar.
Disney Pixar? I think that's such an easy one.
Is it?
Maybe it's not.
Go for it. What's the first thing that comes to mind?
Instinctually, I would say The Incredibles. The first one.
It's not mine.
Really?
Yeah.
Can I try to guess yours?
Sure. You know what it is, I'm sure.
Do I?
I don't know. Guess it.
Is it Ratatouille?
Yeah.
I knew it.
Ratatouille is like one of my
so good.
favorite movies, like just in general.
Ratatouille's really good. Brad Bird?
Brad Bird, yeah.
Did Ratatouille, right? Yeah. So
Who also did
The Incredibles. Yeah.
And Mission Impossible.
Ratatouille is
Mission Protocol.
highly
Ghost Protocol.
underrated.
Ghost Protocol, yeah.
Highly underrated.
Which
Ratatouille.
one? Yes. Yeah.
And I think that's just because people didn't give it a chance because it didn't seem like it's about a rat. You know what I mean? There's no princess or prince or hero.
Another movie. It's like for a Pixar movie, it's smart. It's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it's really good.
It's Brad Bird.
Yeah.
Brad Bird's, yeah.
So next up, we've got Savage Dragon, and for those of you listening, this list is over on the InvinciblePodcast.com under reading order. All these appearances and stuff like that, you can find the issues. in there. So Savage Dragon, there's a few different issues, and kind of like the back half of Dynamo 5, these are mostly just fun little guest appearances, not so much on story. Like I mentioned before, though, Savage Dragon 102 had a preview for Invincible issue 1, but otherwise there was nothing else in that issue. Issue 107 of Savage Dragon is our first actual appearance of Invincible, where he is a actual character in the series. You guys can scroll with these arrows right here to the images. They're all kind of out of order anyways. So in 107, he does appear on the cover. He gets called out of class by Nolan, and this is early days Invincible.
Whoa.
He's actually in high school. It's cool because Eric Larson actually drew, like, you know, Reginald Vell-Johnson High School, the exterior, and the classroom looks the same. Mark's tag is sticking out of his shirt, like the whole Cory Walker homage and stuff like that. It's pretty cool. So he gets called out of class by Nolan because Nolan is busy, and he says, "Hey, you know, there's a monster that we need you to help defeat, and can you go meet go meet up with him?" And so in that issue, he actually meets Savage Dragon for the first time proper. Like, they actually introduce themselves. They say, "Hey, blah, blah, blah." Then in issue 115, you know, what is that? Several months later, I don't know, math. He's in the background during a large fight, and that's it. In issue 115, there's not much else to it. On issue 139, he's
Look out, world! Here comes Invincible.
in issue 139, he's on the cover. This is the one where he's actually fighting the Magma Knights, and so it's interesting because they, if you could find that one, TJ, they're fighting these things called the Magma Knights, but they're also fighting things called Lava Lords, which Lava Lords are a Savage Dragon villain, and they look very similar. And during the fight, they learn that the Magma Knights are fighting the Lava Lords because they're kind of like encroaching on their territory or something like that. And then someone named Solar Man shows up, kills both sides, kills both the Magma Knights and the Lava Lords, and then flies away. So this ties into the next two issues. So there's this Solar Man character who's kind of a character who, what was it? He's basically a vigilante who's killing anyone who's bad. And we find out that in issue 140, which Invincible's on the cover for that one, Savage Dragon meets Cecil. Cecil tells them that Solar Man is that he's letting Solar Man go off. Yeah, he's done some bad things, but basically the whole Cecil thing, right? And they find out that Solar Man is tracking Spawn because Spawn is a bad guy, right? And so he's trying to, like left one, back one, there. So Solar Man's actually trying to kill Spawn. So we've actually got Witchblade, Invincible, Savage Dragon. They're all trying to help defend Spawn from this guy, because they're like, no, you know, Spawn's a good guy now. He has his demons, blah, blah, blah. But, you know, Solar, you know, that guy just wants to kill him. So then on issue 141, Invincible's on the cover again. In that one, Savage Dragon actually kills Solar Man, who everybody witnesses him killing him. And since he's kind of a hero vigilante in this universe, everybody is like shocked and stunned. They villainize Savage Dragon. Invincible's like, all right, this is your problem, peace, and then leaves. And that's literally it.
That's it?
So that's all the appearances of Invincible in Savage Dragon, with as much as I can kind of grasp the story of it. So yeah, again, I thought that everything, it's very early Invincible. I thought everything, like him getting changed outside by the dumpster, him getting out of the classes, the Magma Knights kind of tie-in was cool. Some good, like that splash page, some good, tie-ins and artwork that kind of pull it all together.
It's always interesting. It's like getting commissions. It's always interesting to see people, you know, different people draw Invincible.
Yep. All right. I'm going to pull up the next one.
It's a segue segment with TJ and Bill.
There was a movie by Brad Bird that we didn't mention.
What movie?
Fucking Iron Giant.
Iron Giant?
Yeah.
When was the last time you saw the Iron Giant?
It's been a while.
Yeah?
Like a long while.
Oh, here's an interesting segue. So, Riker is on book 10 of Cirque du Freak. When you find out who Harkett is. Do you remember?
Not really.
You don't remember that?
Harkett?
Harkett's the little man, the little gremlin dude that follows him around.
Oh, okay.
Remember
Yeah.
that? It has to do with time travel
Yes.
and crazy stuff like
But
that.
you find out a lot in that book.
Yeah.
You find out a lot about the history between, was it Mr. Tall and Des Tiny?
Yeah, and Mr. Tiny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You find out about there, which was awesome.
But he also started reading Percy Jackson. So he got the entire 5 books or something like that. Now he's into it.
Cool.
Yeah,
Percy Jackson.
I know.
Percy Jackson was awesome.
The books? Did you read
The
them?
books are awesome.
What?
Really?
Ryan was obsessed with
I've
them.
not only read them, but I've read the next
all the
ones,
side
too.
stories.
Yeah.
Ryan's read
I
everything.
love Greek
Wow.
mythology, dude. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
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 TJ, I'm gonna have to quiz you on an Invincible thing that I can never remember the issue, but we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it and
Do
see
it
if you're
up.
right. Okay, the next one I'm gonna talk about is The Tick, issue 100.
Okay.
Quite possibly the most random one that we're gonna be talking about today. It is literally The Tick featuring Invincible. Invincible's on
And
the
Adam
cover.
Eve.
Adam Eve's on the cover. The cover of the issue says that in this issue, one of these heroes will die. It's pretty cool. This is written by Benito Cereno. Either of you? Written by Benito Cereno.
I need to see the name.
Benito.
I don't think so. I don't think I know
Cerrito?
that.
Cereno. Yeah, I don't know if the name is... Yeah. Either way, he is the the writer, whatever, of Invincible Presents Adam, Eve, and Rexplode,
okay.
and Invincible Prevents Adam, Eve, and some of the Guardians of the Globe. Guarding the globe. Yes. So yeah. So he is someone who,
He's
he
influenced the
knows
Invincible
Invincible.
universe.
He
Yes.
knows Invincible inside and out. So he's one of the few people who have written an Invincible universe thing other than Kirkman. So anyways, in this issue, this monumental issue for The Tick, the 100th issue, after defeating the elephant, Mark is talking to Eve about how he feels like he should be doing more than just punching random bad guys like this. And then he suddenly vanishes into thin air, just out of nowhere. It turns out that the Tick misplaced a teleportation to dimension gun. So it's a gun that teleports you to different dimensions. At one point, so a villain, Chairhead, I forgot what his name is. A villain uses it to summon Mark because he was looking for an evil Viltrumite. There's a mustache joke in there. He talks about well, where's your mustache and stuff like that.
We have to talk about this. This is unrelated to Invincible, but the villain looks like the Martian
Manhunter.
from the
Or not
Tubes.
Martian Manhunter. Marvin the Martian.
Marvin the Martian,
yeah.
And then
he
the
jokes
green,
about it.
and then the green monster looks
Yeah.
like the red monster.
Yeah, it's
that-
totally a spoof on all that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mark and the Tick banter back and forth about the ridiculousness of Tick's world on the way to fight the villain, because he meets up with him. There's a scene where, remember in Invincible and Spider-Man,
Yeah.
you can recognize this already, right?
Yeah.
Mark calls them all, goes through each of the
of their
Tick's
names.
team members' names, and he actually kind of gets pretty close. So that was a fun little callback. They go on to fight the villain and his minions. Does that look familiar?
That's
Yep.
Invincible.
They've done it a couple times.
Yeah. What issue? It's 38.
That's kind of tough.
I know.
For a panel.
I know.
I need to know the
There's two-
context.
I know.
There's two. So it was.
It's
it
this
was-
and then at the end.
It was
I think it would be 20. Was this when they were on another planet?
It was
Yes.
Nolan and
them?
Frag.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's 20.
It was
28.
really. It's on the.
I think it's 28.
Yeah. It's
Oh,
on
And
the,
it shows them in the background.
It's Nolan and Mark fighting the three
Yes.
Viltrumites.
yes.
yes.
Um,
Viltrumites.
The
that
two.
came on the
three,
planet.
Yeah.
The Thrax.
I'm gonna say 28.
All right. It's also in. It's 140 or something like that when they're when
Friends
they
of
do
Dragon
the,
them,
They
they-
yeah.
do the opposite.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So cool. But that's awesome. Look at that 2-page spread. It actually looks really good too.
What's really funny about this is that every single panel that it's in, whatever is happening right now, and they're demolishing these things, whatever they are, they're smiling.
Oh yeah.
Both Mark and the Tick have huge smiles on their
They're just
face, and there's
grins.
blood everywhere.
So they go to Mars to stop the villain. The villain actually kills Arthur, the bunny character from The Tick.
The moth.
Isn't he a bunny?
No, he's a moth.
I don't know.
He's the moth, dude.
Is that his name? His name's Arthur. I just know that.
Yeah, he's known as the moth.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
Well, he kills him. It's funny because Mark calls him a bunny or something like that. They go to Mars, they stop the villain, and the Tick sends Mark back home to Eve. So yeah, pretty much right where he left off. He gets the gun back, the teleportation gun, and sends him back.
What would make this really, 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 really cool is if the other things happen in the Invincible universe, like in the comics, like all of a sudden Mark disappeared and then came back, and then they're like,
And we had no idea
oh,
why. Yeah,
must see
I mean, I guess
in the Tick. You know?
And sometimes that does happen, but in this case, like, Mark was just fighting the elephant. He does that several times that we've never seen. So you just
I guess
assume,
you're right.
Yeah.
I guess you're right. That makes sense.
Yeah. So that's it. I've got a couple more small ones, but give me a second to pull those up, and I'll be right back with those.
It's a segue segment with TJ and Bill. TJ, go.
I had the last, 15.
Would you rather get both of your ears chopped off and you can no longer hear, or both of your legs chopped off and you can no longer walk?
I mean, come on.
What do you-
100% the ears.
But you can't. You can no longer walk. Like, there's no chance of you getting
I'm saying
prosthetic legs.
I would cut my ears off before my fucking legs.
But you can no longer hear
Yeah.
ever again.
Yeah, but
You can never listen to Thrice or anything like that ever again. You can't
Yeah.
hear anything.
Right.
You'll have a child and you'll never hear what its voice sounds like. Really?
Probably won't have
What do you need to walk around for?
What?
Well, you can still go kayaking with no legs.
Okay, so I'm just kayaking all day, every day.
You can do lots of stuff with no legs, but you not hearing? You can't watch fucking movies.
You can't go outside and play with your children. You can't.
Yes, I can.
Yes, I can.
I just watch them play now. It's not like I run around with them.
Well,
That's not true. I do. Are you ready, Ryan?
Yes, I'm ready.
Wait.
The next one up. Did you find the issue, TJ?
no, I'm on the verge though.
I know the
But
cover. I
go
know
ahead.
the cover. It's Mark holding the baby.
Yeah, I think I was one off.
All right. The next one, Bill, is called PvP, which is Player vs. Player, issue 14. I'm going to hand you this comic. I want you to open it.
Okay. Oh, weird. Oh, really weird.
That's what I was hoping for.
So it opens from the bottom,
Yeah.
like to the top.
From the bottom to the top. From the
like
top.
like
But at the top, I stop.
At the core, forgotten in the middle of my thoughts.
like a handy dandy notebook.
Yes,
what
that's
it's like.
the
Like
best
a
way to
handy
put it.
dandy notebook, like
Yeah.
a spiral notebook that opens from the top.
Yep. So this is Player vs. Player, issue 14, guest starring Invincible? ? So Player vs. Player is like comic strip style, almost newspaper comic style comic. So it's strips, and so on. The characters in it are all the people in this Player vs. Player magazine, which is an office building, and it's all the different employees that work there and so on. Now, I don't know if these are actual people, and this is them kind of spoofing on themselves, or if these are 100% created characters. I'm assuming they're 100% created characters, but it's it's just these characters that are all So really, I read the whole thing, and it goes through, and it's just them just doing random comic strip things. Like, sometimes one story will go on for 3 pages, sometimes one story will go on for 2 panels, and it'll just be a short little blurb, like him learning how to drive a stick shift or something, and so on. At one point during one of them, they find out that they covered pop culture news. At one point, they talk about how they're going to Comic-Con, right? Let me pull up my notes.
It was 29, by the way, that splash page was
Was
in.
it 29?
One off.
You said 28.
Fucking one off.
Wow, nice job.
So they're talking about how they're going to Comic-Con and stuff like that, and at one point they talk about how Jade, one of the characters in the comic should dress up as a booth babe so that she can help get, help bring people to their booth and stuff like that or whatever. You know what I mean? So they mention that, but then that becomes a callback later. So at one point they're walking around and one of the characters is like, oh, look, that's Robert Kirkman. And he's like, oh, your comics are my favorite of all time. And one of the characters says, Mr. Kirkman, will you sign my copy of Jubilee #1? And Kirkman's like, you know what? No, I'm not signing any more of those. Yes, I wrote a Jubilee book, okay? It was my first book for Marvel. I know it's a little trite, but they don't hand the new guy Wolverine. You got to start somewhere. It was just kind of funny.
It does look like Robert Kirkman. Before you even said that, I was like, I wonder if that's supposed to be Robert Kirkman.
Yeah.
With the beard and stuff.
Mm-hmm. And the character just goes on to keep talking about Jubilee, and Kirkman flips out about it. And then at one point, the character says, "Whoa, is that the Invincible artist Ryan Ottley?"
I was just gonna say that looks like Ryan Ottley.
and Kirkman's like, "Yep, that's him in the flesh." And Ryan Ottley's like, "Hello," and Kirkman's like, "Hey, did I tell you to stop drawing?" Ottley says, "I was just saying hello." And Kirkman says, "You can say hello, just keep drawing. We got a monthly deadline to keep." Ottley's like, "Okay." Then that guy's like, okay, I should go. This is very awkward. And Kirkman says, no, it's just he needs a good kick in the ass now and then. It's been a pleasure meeting you, sir. At one point, Ottley says he'd like to go get something to drink. And Kirkman says, yeah, I wouldn't complain if you got me a water. And Ottley gets up to go leave. And Kirkman's like, I don't recall saying you could stop drawing. And he basically makes Ottley walk and draw on his way to get water. So yeah, and it's just that happening.
That's a silly goose.
At one point, Kirkman says, all right, it's pretty dead right now. Time to pull out the big guns. Ottley says, big guns? And Kirkman tells him to dress up as Invincible to draw attention to the booth. And he tells him he's going to have to lose the goatee because the goatee doesn't fit. And then at one point, where is it?
There it is. Bottom left.
Yep. The team tell what was it? Her boyfriend. You know how Jade was supposed to dress up as someone. They convince her to dress up as someone from EverQuest. Her boyfriend gets jealous when he sees her talking to Ryan Ottley, and Ottley ends up beating him up. Ottley quits, and Kirkman puts the suit on in the end. So. Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting.
That's very funny.
Yeah.
It was funny.
I thought it was cute.
Cute?
Yeah, it is. It's silly.
Weird we haven't seen that till now.
Yeah, see? Kirkman wearing the Invincible costume trying to sell trades.
That's so weird that, like, I feel like that right there is something that someone somewhere would have told us about.
Yeah. Ottley did the cover to this one as well.
So, wow.
It looks very early Ottley. It
WYA.
Looks
he was
like...
he was signing at Wyatt back then.
What is it called? I can't think of
January
the name of it.
2005.
It looks like the Bike Messenger comic he did.
Oh, Ted Noodleman?
Yeah, it looks like that.
Yep.
I think he was trying to be stylistic, but it's still Ottley. But it looks like that, like, Sunday comic art. You know
I've got one more. But go ahead and do one more
Go,
segment.
TJ.
What?
I did the last one.
Huh.
It's a Segway segment with TJ and Bill. TJ and Bill!
I'm going to be ready like in 2 seconds, so don't kill yourself, TJ. So,
If you could go anywhere in time, in the past, to witness one event, what would it be?
Oh my god. I'm not like a huge history buff, so...
Aren't you?
No.
Didn't you want to be a history teacher growing up?
A long time. How the fuck do you know
Because I
that?
know things. I remember things. I
That's
thought
like-
we were friends.
I would go back to that moment and be like, whoa.
That'd be like-
Bill, you need to rethink your life choices. That'd be like what, Ryan?
I wanted to be a fire engine. I just remember being a little kid saying
I wanted
that.
to be a dinosaur, and then my
Yeah.
dad was like, oh, what movie?
Oh, what movie is that?
What movie? It's like, you're 18! It's time to put childish things away.
I don't remember.
Step Brothers.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
right. That's right.
He's like, I'd always bring it back. Step Brothers. It gets better every time you watch it.
It really does.
It does.
All right, so this one is issue 25 of Shudder by Joe Keatinge.
This is a comic I've always considered picking up from the start.
Really?
Yeah.
It's very fascinating scrolling through this or scrolling through it, flipping through it. And I don't understand it. It kind of feels like picking up a random issue of Saga. Like, it's a very unique
Very
world and
story-oriented continuation.
Yeah, it's all very twisted and kind of like, bizarre. And
give us the gist.
I don't know.
Gist is a word. Is gist a word?
Yeah.
Is
Gist
it
is
an
the word.
actual word?
Yeah.
Gist.
So Invincible is on the cover of the variant. Brandon Graham, I believe, did this one. But otherwise, the artist in the interiors is Lila Del Duca, and the writer of this is Joe Keatinge.
I know that name.
Who's that, Ryan? You have a little stupid
You guys
smirk
know
on your
this
face.
name.
I do know that name.
He did Tech Jacket.
Oh,
The
new one?
The new Tech
I got a
Jacket.
commission from him.
Do you really?
I think I do.
He's a writer, so that'd be interesting.
Oh, no, it wouldn't be him. I have it from
He just wrote
Nate.
Tech Jacket.
Yeah, he just wrote. What do you want, Batman? He writes Batman. You should start doing
There
that to
are
writers.
writers that do commissions.
I know, but you should
hilarious.
totally do that for writers now. Go to them and ask them to just write
Just
them.
right.
They write Batman punching Superman. That's brilliant. I'm gonna start doing that.
Writer commissions.
Writer commissions. I love it. I want it.
You may have started something like.
I think that'd be great. I think that'd be so cool. All right, so so this is issue 25. Like I said, Invincible's on the cover of the variant. It's a really cool cover.
With his mask off.
Yeah. Invincible and the other Image characters meet up with Kate at the diner. So basically the issue starts and she's kind of reminiscing. I think because this is issue 25, it was kind of a monumental issue.
The colors in this are really good.
Yeah. She's talking to this other character about how she has to meet up with some friends, and she meets up with them, and there's just some kind of like inner monologue going on. And while she's there, it's all the it's the Image universe sitting there. Shadowhawk and Witchblade and Spawn and Savage Dragon and Invincible, and they're all just kind of sitting there. And they ask someone to take a picture of them all together, and then it kind of goes on with the rest of the issue being all weird and bizarre and everything like that. And on the back of the issue is the photo that was taken. So it's a cute little cameo.
Cute. You're using that word
I'm
a
using
lot.
the word cute again. The last thing I want to bring up is Monster Pileup, which featured Wolfman, and I was really excited about this one.
That's Jason
'cause-
Howard.
Yes, because that is Jason Howard, and it says all new stories featuring Astounding Wolfman, Fire Breather, and so on. And I was really excited about it. I got it. It was just the first 4 pages of issue 8 of Wolfman. So I was like, oh. At the time, it was probably new because
Yeah.
issue 8 hadn't come out yet, but it wasn't. So that's it. Reprint the first 3 pages of issue 8. Yep, that was Gary getting the fake ID after the funeral for his wife. Shudder, PvP, The Tick, Supreme, Savage Dragon, Dynamo
if there's
5,
any more,
Noble
Ryan?
Causes, and The Pact. We did it, guys.
Well, one other one that we didn't talk about, but we've talked about it in the past, is Marvel Team Up with
Oh,
Spider-Man.
yeah. Of course. Yep. That awesome issue of Marvel Team Up. So, yeah, that does it for my little book report on the special appearances by Invincible and other comics. Before we get to the rereader, I want to read a email from...
An email.
Yeah. From our friend Kelsey, or Vince, from Let's Talk Invincible over on Twitter.
Hey!
Don't call her Vince.
What? Why?
From
Oh,
Comic.
I was
It
like, why
relevant
not?
to the comic.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't like people.
Zephyr says don't. Yeah, no. Invincible says don't
Yeah.
call me Vince. She says hi again. It's Kelsey or Vince. Finally writing in with some brief thoughts about Invincible and other comics. As a disclaimer, I haven't read all of Invincible's appearances in other comics. Obviously, the Marvel Team Up issue is the big one, and probably my favorite. But you guys already did a whole episode on that, so I'll pass over for now. Haha. I recently read the Invincible PvP issue though, and I have to say that was not what I was expecting, and yet I still really liked it. It was definitely different from the impression that the cover first gave me, but I didn't regret reading it one bit. PV seems like a delightful book. The sudden appearances of Kirkman and Ottley had me cracking up. 100% a pleasant surprise, and so goofy too. Then what happens to Ottley later? My God, poor Ryan. I don't remember much from the other crossovers I've read, but I do remember really liking the friendship between Mark and Zephyr in both The Pact and Noble Causes. Them showing concern for each other, calling each other nicknames. God, that was cute. It's nice to see him having a friendship with a female teammate that isn't strictly romantic. Heck, it would have been nice to see their friendship hinted at in the main book. And if not Zephyr, I would have liked to have seen Amber stick around as a platonic part of the cast. But I'm getting off topic. Can't wait to hear your thoughts. Love, Kelsey. Thanks, Kelsey. I agree. It would have been nice to have seen like a non-superpowered platonic character like Amber hanging around throughout all the craziness that happens later on in Invincible. It was great getting the call back to see her, though, seeing that she was still happy. So, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's dive into the reread. This is volume 19. What was it, TJ? The War at Home?
Yes.
War at Home, and this covers issues 103 to 108.
One of the best covers of a trade paperback, in my opinion.
Agreed. This is a very, very cool cover.
It's got all the main players.
Everybody reaching up like that. It's very...
zombie-ish.
Yeah.
But they're not zombies.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're kind of zombies, but they're not zombies.
It has a lot, like, if you were
It
to
looks
look at...
very gothic, is what
Yeah,
I'm trying
it's
to get
always
at.
very-
It almost looks like
It's red and
people
black.
reaching from hell up at an angel.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But
Like
if you...
And it's also very symmetrical.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you were to see this cover,
Symmetrical.
and it has Invincible, Angstrom Levy, Thrag, Nolan, multiple...
Battle Beast?
Battle Beast, and then three different...
At least.
Yeah, there's
Three
a couple
different
there. One, two.
alternate
three,
Invincibles who we haven't seen in how many issues?
There's one.
40...
1, 2, 3. Yeah, 3.
42 issues.
So in
Been a
42
while.
issues. So if you saw this volume and you were reading it volume to volume, wouldn't you be like, holy
Yes.
shit,
42
what the fuck is going to go on in
Yeah.
this volume?
Yeah. So previously,
Previously.
I had talked about my favorite trade, the one kind of leading up to issue.
It was like a random one where like
No, it
nothing
was-
happened.
Oh, it was leading up. It was leading up to Conquest.
Yeah.
It was the one that ends with Conquest's arrival and like the everything that
It was
happens
the
right
one
before
where
that.
they date.
Yeah, I love all those. This trade, man, I read it in one sitting, and
Me too.
dude, it is so good.
It's very
is-
good trade.
This is like,
But what
like
that last issue?
yes, but what this giving someone this trade, like when they got to this trade, that is the one where it's like peak Invincible. Like you're dealing with some of the
This-
best art, some of the best writing, some of the best cliffhangers. Like it's so good.
I feel like we talk about how there was kind of a lull after like the Viltrumite War, and like when you get into like the 90s, like it's all really good story, but not a lot of like fucking wild and crazy shit happened. You know what I mean? Like some obviously like Dinosaurus, all that stuff was nuts, but I mean, when it comes to like the characters you know and you love, like really getting impacted, this is where it like kind of all comes back and then sets
This
up
is like
for
this is like Eve and Angstrom.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there's so much in this trade.
Robot.
and
Fucking
Thrag
Robot.
and Robot. Like yeah.
You could say-
Nolan. Oh,
literally this entire, if you rereading it, it focuses so much on Robot without focusing on Robot.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they're like knowing what we know on where Robot goes in his story, they're really setting him up, and you don't realize it until you.
It's
There
funny
are a
because
lot
it's-
of tells. There are a
Yes,
lot of tells that
yes.
reading it back, you're
Subtle.
like, oh, fucking duh.
Very
and it's
like-
funny, yeah, it's so obvious
Yeah.
knowing it now. Like I remember during my reread of this, I'm like, he's very clearly like at one point he has a secret room. At one point he's really angry at Invincible. Like
for no reason.
Yeah, and
it's
it's
just
like-
very out of character for him.
Very out of character for him to get emotional about someone like
Yeah.
that.
But
Like,
it's-
why the fuck is Cecil just allowing him to do this?
Yes.
But it's out of character for what we know from Robot before he went to the Flaxen
exactly,
dimension.
exactly. Oh, it's so good.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get into this. So
We're getting ahead
we're
of
gonna
ourselves.
try and go a little bit as quickly as possible because this is gonna be a really long episode again. This is what we do. But issue 103, such a cool cold open. I love Engstrom and his cool sneakers. He's just like running
His hood up.
along. Yeah, running
You don't know
along.
it's Angstrom at first.
I
on the
mean,
first page.
the cover is Angstrom, and then
Yeah,
you would assume.
I wouldn't.
Yeah, you know what?
No,
I
I
wouldn't
don't
Why
either.
would
Yeah, you don't know.
Angstrom be in this kind of setting? It's a very
Yeah, he's waving to his
suburban
neighbor.
Yeah.
neighborhood. He's got his hood up.
Waving
He's
to
picking
the-
up the newspaper.
paper
Like
boy.
it's not something you would expect from Angstrom. And
Yeah.
then he stretches out, and you can see his face under his hood. It's
Good to be back.
He walks into his home,
He's got
and
this
the orbs
baller
are
house.
everywhere, all throughout the house, and he's, pouring his morning coffee. He unravels the
And it's
the
like he
morning
says,
paper.
he says, I can't quite put my finger on it, and his hand is literally on the paper. It's like he sees the newspaper that announces that Invincible is indeed alive, and it's one of my favorite like reactions in this whole comic is him spitting out his coffee at reading the paper.
Right, because I think that he was having such a jolly good morning because Invincible was dead.
Yes, he's
Like,
just
and
he's
he's just
free
like, yeah.
of the technicians.
Well, I mean, he was a decent guy. Like before before Invincible, before he went crazy and tried, but he was a normal guy. He was just a
He's back in his
scientist.
home
He
dimension,
has
and Invincible is dead.
He has no reason to be a villain right now because Invincible's dead.
Yeah. We've got a scene of Robot Rex sitting in his like command center, hearing the news from around the world that Invincible is not
alive.
only alive, but he is. They're praising him for being the one that actually did in fact kill Dinosaurus and put an end to him. And Rex is clearly upset about it.
Amanda asks, "Why are you upset?" And he's like, "Are you serious? Why aren't you upset about it?" Invincible did all this stuff with Dinosaurus, and then not only is he like we just said on the news, like not only is he good, but now not only is he getting away with it, but he's also working with Cecil. How can Cecil be okay with this?
Yep.
So if we remember in the last issue or so, Eve made her engagement ring,
Yep.
and she was told not to use her powers.
Oh.
Yeah, which is why on this next page she wakes up with Mark freaking out and crying because she's afraid she
just-
hurt the baby.
Yeah, and
Wait,
go ahead, TJ.
I'm sorry. I wanted to go back to this conversation. There's one other thing I wanted to say. I don't mean to go
It's
back,
all right.
but Amanda says, like, "Are you mad because he got the credit?" And
Yeah,
she-
yeah.
And he's mad that Mark got the credit, and the
Well, he
reason
says
why
it's not that. It's not that. It's something else.
I don't really think it is necessarily that.
Yeah.
But he wants to take over, right? We know that he
Well,
wants
he's
to take
looking
over.
at how flawed the world is. He's looking at
wants
how
the
flawed the
world-
system is.
I feel like he wants the credit, but he wants the credit so that the world can start looking at him as that figure, so that he could take over.
But he didn't want to be known. Even when he took over, he didn't want to be
Yeah,
known
he
as the
doesn't-
figure that ran. He just wanted
think
it
so?
to.
No,
No,
That's
so
what
I
I
know
got.
so.
No, he's looking-
Otherwise, why is he mad about this?
because Invincible legit, like the thing that I was upset at with the last trade, like Invincible legit got away with it. It is fucked up.
I know, but Robot has worked with people from the past who have been villains that Cecil has taken on.
Yeah, but I think this is after.
How many of them killed millions of people or are responsible
Right.
for the death of millions of people in a world where Rex could fix it? I could fix this all, and instead you're praising the guy that did it?
Yeah.
I know, but I feel like
think you're a
the
villain,
reason
TJ.
I feel like the reason why it came up was because I don't know. I think that's why Amanda said it. So you think that there was nothing there when it comes to Amanda saying
I really don't think he wants credit. I legit don't think he wants credit.
I think that he did want credit, but not for
I think he is a little
not for-
narcissistic. I think there is a part of him that might want the credit, but only because he knows he's doing the right thing in his mind.
Yes, but that's what I'm saying. I think that he wants the credit not for himself because the credit would help him achieve his end goal.
Sure. It's kind of a self-fulfilling thing. Like, yeah,
He even says later on, like, people praised us.
Yeah.
He's like, why? She's like, why are you having? We'll get to that.
Yeah.
But
no, I get what you're saying.
'Cause it comes back
it's
to
funny
that. He
because
does
it's not,
want the
it's
credit.
not just he doesn't want to do this. He's not upset because he wants the credit. Just because of that. There's a whole lot more to
yes,
it.
that's
Okay,
what I'm saying.
then
There's-
okay.
It's
we're
not
good.
because he's narcissistic.
Yeah. So like Bill was talking about, Eve's concerned that she hurt the baby when she made the ring. And so Sherry comes over, she checks it and says, yeah, the baby is fine. But before, when I told you not to use her powers, it was just my theory and I was concerned. It turns out, yeah, I was correct. you were very close to hurting the baby, like
Sucking the baby dry. pretty
basically.
much.
She
Yeah.
said
Well,
that. She
it's
said
sucking
that if
her
you
body dry. It's taking all
Yes,
the nutrients out of her
nutrients-
body,
Which her
means
body
the-
would have looked
the
for
baby,
other sources for nutrients,
It
which
means
would have
the
been the
baby
baby.
is
exactly
not going to
so
get those nutrients.
by using her powers, she could absorb her baby.
That's what happened. What happened is that she used up all the nutrients that her baby would have gotten, which it didn't, and then if she would have kept using
going.
her powers,
And that was just a
a
ring.
ring, just a little bit of ring,
Yeah.
a little bit of ring, which obviously loaded gun, Ryan, right? Loaded gun. Why would that be in there? Because she can't use her powers. Really quick, we can just scroll over this stuff. Thrag saying you should kill me because
Yeah,
I will make sure that you'll die.
Nolan's saying they've already changed. They'll thank me. You're gonna, Thrag saying that they'll come crawling back to me. Nolan's saying that those are the old ways. I'm changing things, and your punishment is that you will have to live to see it. Like, flat out telling you in this trade how the book is going to end.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the old ways. Like like literally talking about the old ways is one of the things that happens the moment Thrag dies at the end of this series. Is Mark saying like those are the old ways, like having that whole passion speech as he's killing him. So yeah, we get to see some William and Rick. She's there to basically chat with them about not being able to use her powers.
She finds out that William told Rick about Eve and how she's Adam Eve, and she's like a little upset about it. And she's talking about how like
I didn't think that she was referring to that. Was it? Okay, I'm not going to be mad. I could probably. I just want to talk to my normal friends. I'm forbidden from using my powers. The drive over here was yuck. And he says, forbidden. Weren't your powers on the fritz before? Is it not working? And because you were, and he looks at Rick, pregnant. She's talking about you told him about the abortion.
okay.
Because that's why the powers were on the fritz. Because she's the one that flat out says her powers.
Yeah.
But yeah, she was talking about the abortion and the pregnancy. But regardless, she refers to Rick as normal. He says, I'm far from normal. And he shows up. Rick shows about what D.A. Sinclair did to him. And they reference issue 37. And then she says that, that they're engaged. Shows them her ring. Mark is punching one of the Maulers, says, weren't you dead? You got to read Guarding the Globe Volume 2 to find out why Mauler's back. The new Guardians of the Globe show up.
Wait. Guardian of the Globe Volume 2. Did that have to do with El Chupacabra?
That was part of it. It was, remember when Mauler had a bunch of the babies?
Oh, yeah, that's
there's a
right.
bunch of babies. He basically cloned himself like Duplicate.
Yeah.
He left one somewhere.
Right.
And Mark even references that. He's like,
you duplicated yourself.
Yeah, you did the Duplicate thing.
Right, yep.
He's like, of course, I'm a genius. Why wouldn't I?
Eve is struggling without having her
I
powers.
love this.
She's caught
She's
in
stuck
traffic.
in traffic.
She can't do anything
yeah.
about it.
So lighthearted before it gets crazy.
Yeah.
Which is just, it's very typical.
God, she gets
Like
home,
misdirection.
walks in the house, and you see the orb over her shoulder, and then you turn the page, and Angstrom's there in his crazy cape, and he's got his little orbs that are holding her up, and
He said, I was honestly expecting his mother, but this is much more interesting.
yep.
He's like, where's that purple thing? Does that still live here?
Oh yeah, does he say where's the purple?
Yeah, where's the purple baby? Does that still live here? That may have been...
No, that purple baby is still here.
Yeah.
Where's that at? That's so funny. Mark comes home, flies at him, and teleports him to kind of his go-to dimension, which is the desert dimension. Mark turns the corner to find one of the alternate Invincibles eating one of the others. And he says, oh, good, you've
Which
arrived
there
just in time.
are, it looks
there
like
are many
three other
bodies.
ones.
4.
So there are 4 total
Well,
that are dead.
on that
6.
page, there's more than that.
Right.
Well, there's 4 dead on this page, yeah.
And then 1 eating them.
Issue 104, Angstrom standing over Eve. We find out that the crazy Mark that is...
He just talks a lot about eating them.
yeah,
Like how they
he's like, are
decided
you
they got
real? It's
hungry
been
and
so
they ate
long.
and-
Yeah, we were dying.
They fight.
Mark goes to fight him. He says, winner gets the meat.
This is where we get a lot of interesting stuff. Because so Angstrom and Eve are talking, and Angstrom talks about how is it this part right here?
Yeah, because he says that he
figures out that
sees
she's
her,
pregnant.
He sees her going to use her powers to blast him or something,
And
he
stopping
says.
him.
And he says,
Stopping
I
herself.
can see through these orbs. You were going to hit me with my back turned, but you chose not to. you must have powers. You must be the great Adam, the mighty Adam Eve, he says. And in this dimension, you have a mighty waistline too, which is strange. You're so active in other dimensions, but you didn't bother to attack me when I nearly choked you. You're pregnant. Like, God.
Yeah. So he talks about her being pregnant, and then he also talks about
How Mark is.
how in an alternate dimension the Mahler twins were going to. She was pregnant again. And the Lizard League.
The Lizard League
was
he
much
says
more
we're
powerful.
far more dangerous.
Yeah, and she had the option to either use her powers to save her own life or not do anything,
And die.
they both died. And in that dimension, they both died. And in some instances,
It drove Mark.
crazy because it was so
made
rare
him
for.
evil.
And
yeah,
Angstrom says, like, in several dimensions, you're evil. And a lot of the reasons are either because his family and the Viltrumites raising him differently, or because of you dying.
right.
So, yeah, really, really good.
And this is when Eve kind of like starts to use her power of like logic.
Yeah, and she
in this.
she said several times, she's like, you think knowing that I would do the same? Angstrom calls her out on that and says, yeah,
Right.
I do.
Yeah, you die again.
But meanwhile, Mark is still fighting that crazy alternate version when Mohawk Mark shows up to save him, says that, that guy's crazy. Yeah, I helped eat the other ones, but blah, blah, blah.
The first one.
Yeah, the first one. Yeah, I helped eat the first one, but...
But he was crazy and everyone hated him and he needed to go.
So this is what Bill was talking about when we see Eve and Angstrom again. Oh God, this scene is so good. She says, I know what happened to like Mark told me, and he's like, oh, you mean disrupting the machine and turning me into a freak?
This is where you get
and
so
she's
much
like,
stuff.
No, you removed the helmet. You stopped it yourself.
You saved Mark's life.
Yeah, you
by
saved
taking
him.
yourself out of the machine, and you made yourself crazy.
Yeah, and he said I caused the explosions. Lies. And
then she says
you had 1,000 different dimensions.
You don't think
minds?
Some of your memories could have gotten intertwined, interlinked,
twisted.
and you could have gotten something mixed up. Mark isn't the bad guy here.
Mm-hmm.
And then he stops and thinks about it, and then she's like, "You killed my boyfriend."
And he said, "Not yet. I haven't."
And she said, "No."
She says, "No,
not
my
Mark,
ex-boyfriend."
My ex-boyfriend.
You fucking loved
Rex.
this, didn't you?
God,
Chicken?
it's so
you
good.
loved it.
I loved it.
He was never the nicest guy. He was never the nicest guy, but he was a part of my life. He was familiar to me. We grew up together. He taught me so much, and I'll never get to talk to him again because of you. You took him from me.
Good.
You brought those evil Invincibles into this dimension, and he gave his life to stop them. I'll never forgive you for that.
And then she goes on to say, did I focus on that? Did I hunt you down? Did I run into different dimensions and hide? Did I make it my life's mission to make you pay? And Angstrom says, you're more than welcome to. And she's like, no, that would be stupid. I have better things to do. She is such a badass. This has to be my favorite Eve moment in the series. This is so good.
Mm-hmm.
She's so
Logic.
awesome. She says, she says that when Mark gets back here and defeats you, I'll get back to my life, and I'll have his baby, and we'll live happily ever after. My reward for not focusing on revenge. Do you ever stop and consider what you could be accomplishing if you stop blaming Mark?
Left
Where he
him
would be.
fucking speechless.
God,
She
With
bitch
all-
pleased
with
him
all
so
of the
bad.
knowledge of all the different dimensions, what he could have accomplished, and he hasn't done anything with it.
It's so good. And his face there. Oh,
He pretty much accomplished what he originally wanted. He wanted, all the knowledge from all the different angstroms from all the different dimensions.
yeah.
He got what he wanted and didn't do anything with it.
So, meanwhile, the fight with the other Marks is going on. The Mohawk Mark kills the other one brutally, just punching him, yelling at you made me do it. You were the worst of us, kind of blaming him for what happened to all of them. A portal opens up. And
Mark flies through it.
Mark flies through, immediately starts attacking Angstrom. So does Mohawk Mark.
Mohawk Mark does.
Oh, yeah.
Mohawk Mark comes through behind Mark and immediately attacks Angstrom Levy and says, I was supposed to get access to other dimensions I could conquer. That could add to my empire.
Yeah.
Now my empire is in shambles.
So Eve encourages them to stop and listen to Angstrom. Angstrom apologizes. He says, I'm not a saint, but I had a plan and I lost my way. All their information, the wires got crossed. And Mark's like, wires got crossed? And Angstrom says this, you're dangerous, ruthless, evil in so many dimensions. I believe that says a lot about your nature. It should concern you. And we get a great panel of Mark's eyes taking that in. And Angstrom says, I'm sorry for the pain I've caused, the lives I've took. I surrender. I've earned whatever punishment. And then he opens up another dimension for Mohawk Mark and says, for you, your home dimension awaits. Mohawk Mark says, you know what? And takes Angstrom and flies through that dimension, saying, we know how to deal with his kind from where I'm from. And Mark and Eve kiss.
This is huge, though. Like, this, I mean, Angstrom has been such a huge villain in this series, and he just realized, like, oh, shit, I fucked up. Like, he's kind of not redeemed himself, but in a way,
we haven't had anything
with
like
us,
this.
he's redeemed himself.
Yeah,
with
we've
the
had
reader.
we've had other than Nolan.
Okay.
Other than Nolan, and that's a pretty big like example. But this was, I mean, Angstrom is a bad guy. Like, he's been nothing but a bad guy, and Eve like spent 2 pages
for almost 100 issues
and just laid so much fucking knowledge on this
in
guy
one issue and just
and laid it out
especially because it is so true. Whereas Nolan, it's very complicated with his origin and with all that and
who
turning
he is.
and with this guy, it's like, no, listen, you this isn't right. I mean, I guess it's a lot like Powerplex. You're misinformed. This isn't the truth. Wow.
This is more complicated though. The reason why I like this is because Angstrom threw in a lot of stuff from the other dimensions, talking about like how you were pregnant in other dimensions and you died, and then how Eve was like, listen, you have many other memories going through your head. How do you know that? Like, because we never thought about that. We never thought about how we just thought like he got confused, but we didn't think about the possibility of him like focusing on other memories from those other dimensions. It's so smart, so smart.
Then he looks at Mohawk Mark and he says, for you, your home dimension awaits. And he starts opening up a portal. And then Mohawk Mark says, you know what? He says, we know how to deal with your kind where I'm from. And he grabs him and he takes him through the portal. And then the portal closes behind him.
Yep. Eve and Mark kiss, and they say they know what to do. They call in Rex. And Mark says, you know, you've done this before. You know how to you'll be able to generate the portals he does because he's unable to find the signal. And Rex says, if I recall your encounter, it took my counterpart nearly 15 years to find you. Is it that important to you? And he says, he's out there. I still have to find him. And they're, of course, referring to issue 34, which is also another really cool callback. So, all right, issue 105. Awesome cover. I believe that it was used as a print. That Ottley sells.
Yep.
Cool opening issue. A great use of Rex. He's talking to like 5 different people doing 5 different things. He says, Actioneers, do this. Best Tiger, do that. Samson, throw the bomb to me. I can catch it. I can get it away enough to cause the explosion. I'll be ready to leave in 20 minutes, Amanda. Sorry, I didn't mean to yell. Yeti, duck. All I can, you know what I mean? Like he's constantly talking.
All these different fights.
He's doing his Rex thing.
Yeah. And
his robot thing, sorry.
Yeah. And he's talking to Invincible, and there's this awesome 2-page spread of Invincible stopping a car full of guys with machine guns. But yeah, he says that he basically updates Mark on the dimension, says that he's still working on it. Mark sends all the bad guys to jail. Amanda and Rex leave to go out to dinner. They talk about how his attention won't be divided amongst too many robots, that he'll be able to focus on her tonight.
Can we talk about Amanda's dress right now?
Yeah.
That's it? That's all we're just gonna It's pretty skimpy.
It is. I mean,
she's excited to go out with him.
Yeah. Back on the Viltrumite ship, Nolan is ready to deal his punishment to Thrag. And
this is crazy.
Thrag releases his bonds, tells him, "You choose I choose exile. Go find a place, find a corner of the galaxy, far from the Coalition, far from everything, and live. Know that that we've changed, and that we are different now." And sends Thrag away. Think of how much would have changed if he had
I was thinking, as I was rereading it, I was like, man, if only you could go back in time.
Probably an unpopular opinion. I hated that. I thought it was very uncharacteristic of Nolan to do that. I mean, even if Thrag did exactly what Nolan told him to do, go off 12 galaxies over and find another place to live, wherever Thrag goes, he's going to cause destruction. If he finds another planet, he's going to take that over. So Nolan pretty much just damned a whole other
I get that he was
race.
trying to set an example by not killing.
I don't
but
like that he just let him
Why
go.
not just imprison him?
Exactly.
Yeah, I know.
I didn't like
Regardless,
that at all.
I think he was. I think he didn't want to do it. I think to your point, Ryan, he was trying to show like unrestricted like compassion. You know what I mean? And understanding and be like,
but it puts other lives at risk. Yeah, and I feel like Nolan's normally more smarter than that.
He went 150% when he really only needed to go 100. Like he was like, look at how good we can be. Yeah. Well, it was his fatal flaw. Mark comes home. Yeah, Mark comes home to Eve setting up the nursery. They have a cute little scene together. She can't stand doing all the instructions. She can't stand not having powers. She talks to him about Angstrom, and she basically tells him to forget about it. Like, don't be him, basically. Don't obsess over this. There's so much going on with the baby and everything else that you should be attending to. Just do me a favor, just stop. She kisses him and says, glad that's settled. Now finish my crib. You know, like, that's it. She wanted it to be done with. Nolan tells Alan that he let Thrag go. It's funny because it says 30 minutes ago, and he's like, wait a minute. Weren't you taken prisoner? What's going on? And then it says now, and he catches him up because last Alan knew, Thrag was still going, like still had all his people, like it was still, and now he's the Grand Regent, and he let Thrag go. Alan is not happy about that.
About letting Thrag go, yeah.
Yep. Meanwhile, at dinner, Amanda's making small talk with Rex, and she brings up the interesting fact about how there are very few female superheroes. How does that happen? 50% of people are female. Why is there not 50% female superheroes?
He's not really. It looks like he's really not paying attention.
Yeah.
Because he's off somewhere else. Because he's there's so many things going on all at once. He's basically doing other things. But then when she questions him about it, he really was paying attention, but at the same time, he's not giving his full attention.
They then talk a little bit about how difficult it was being back on Earth, and she, he says everything about it is difficult. The people, the social requirements, it's difficult for me. And she says, because you're not in charge. And he says, I ruled over an entire world. People worship me. I was important, Amanda, and now I'm not. So yeah, there is something there. There is that feeling of wanting to be important. Debbie and Nolan are back on
the moon.
The moon.
Are they on the moon? The moon.
Yeah, they're on the moon.
Yeah, they're on the moon.
Mm-hmm.
It's the moon.
Yep. They're talking a little about his decision to let Thrag go. Debbie makes a great reference to using the giant the ceremonial garb as a blanket. Then we see Mark and Eve in bed. Cecil calls him in because now he works for him. He calls him. He goes and stops Gridlock. Nolan says you want to moon it up. He says that you've been talking with Oliver too much.
He shows up on Earth and he can't be there for long, so that's why they have to go to the moon. Because if anybody sees him,
they know Omni-Man's back.
Yeah.
This is one of the best scenes. Like one of the best discussions, like conversations in all of Invincible. I think about this one a lot. This one's so good.
There's one coming up though.
This one's really good. This whole trade. Well, anyways,
I was gonna say that about a different one.
He tells Mark about Thrag. Mark says, "I have the whole Vulture Empire under my command. I don't have the technology. I just want you to be safe. We surely matter discussion." Oh yeah. So, they talk about how Cecil can't hear if we talk this way. Mark tells him that I'm not supposed to be telling you this, but Eve and I are having a baby. Nolan says, that's great news. Congratulations. And Mark says, can you help me? I mean, not be so scared. I'm worried I'm going to screw it up or that I'll get thrown into the future and miss its childhood or something. Like, how crazy.
Very close.
Practically.
He gets thrown into the past and loses
exactly.
his childhood.
Mark says, were you scared when Mom was pregnant? And he said, no, I hadn't been affected by humanity enough to be scared like that. It was your arrival, my connection to you and your mother, that caused me to care and to love. And Mark says, and since then, Nolan says, I've been scared every day of my life, and you will be too. Like, it's so good. It's so good. Mark says, great. All right, 106.
Fucking Battle Beast.
The cover is just is Mark and Nolan arm wrestling. First page is an alien race apologizing for oppressing their people, and Battle Beast is like, no, you're right about one thing. You're not going to oppress anyone ever again. It's just Battle Beast fucking shit up like he does. This is when we meet Thresha. Thresha swears herself to him, begs to come along with him.
I feel like this is Battle Beast's true introduction to the series based
As the
on
new
where
Battle
he,
Beast.
Yeah, because I mean we've seen him here and
This
there.
is
past,
Battle
but,
Beast 2.0.
This is where like his fandom started, where people really started
But
to like.
before he was like a cool little cameo. It's like, oh, it's that guy.
Yeah,
and he's
exactly.
like, oh, I'm going crazy. I'm fighting
now he's
things.
an established character.
Now he's a
or
character.
is about to become an established character.
Yep, and he's going around a space racer doing stuff. We've got
racer.
the Mark and Eve going to the moon, and the whole argument / discussion about wait, you told your dad I was pregnant. Debbie's
told
like, you're
Cecil you were pregnant?
Wait, you told Cecil and not us?
Yeah.
What? Yeah, that whole thing, which is fun. We see Doc Seismic. He is underground. And then he's attacked by lava. More about that soon. Great scene with Amanda talking to Pegasus. And this is when Robot comes out of a secret room. And he says, you weren't supposed to know about it. It was secret. Don't forget, I built this space station. I've got secret rooms all over the place. Is the meeting soon? You came to get me? And then that's it. Like,
I feel like Amanda keeps like she's being very adult because there are things that I feel like most people would get upset about. Like he's not giving he wasn't giving her his full attention at dinner like he said he was going to, and she just kind of like let it go. He's got hidden rooms here and she just kind of lets it go. She's not arguing about anything, but I feel like she's holding things in.
I don't think she's being adult. I think she's being naive. I think she probably knows something's going on with him, but she doesn't necessarily want to believe it.
I think it's both though. I think she definitely doesn't know what's going on for sure,
to the extent at least.
but I feel like she comes off as like a little like, why do you have secret rooms? Like she doesn't even come out and ask him that. Like she's just like kind of like,
yeah.
hands it off. I had no idea there were other rooms there.
The awkward dinner between the Graysons continues, and it's really funny. Eve is concerned because of Nolan knowing things. He just recently tried to take over. Remember, he kicked your butt not long ago. And Mark goes on to say, if it happened now, I'd probably be the one to kick his butt. And they said, well, there's only one way to find out, and they arm wrestle. And Anissa shows up. She's watching. And Mark notices Anissa watching and decides to basically throw the match. Which, do you think he would have beat him?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I feel like
think Mark's stronger?
I could. I don't know. I would think that eventually Omni-Man would have beat him, but I also feel like if it kept going, I could see like panels and panels and panels of them being there for hours and hours and days. Maybe it wouldn't go anywhere.
I don't think he threw the match. I think that he was distracted. Like it literally, like he was holding his own, and then all of a sudden he said, "Oh damn!" Like, and it's in that second that he saw Anissa. Yeah.
No, I'm saying he wasn't distracted. He even says like right away. He says, "Is your leadership of the Viltrumites dependent on you being the strongest?" And Nolan says, "No, that was the old way." And Mark says, "Oh, just curious." He was concerned that if he would have beat him, that Anissa would have been like, well, Mark's our leader because he is stronger. So.
Good point.
We see
this was nuts.
Doc Seismic's face being burned off and some voice talking to him saying that you were chosen and, this will be very painful, but you'll thank us for this. So he's being transformed into something.
We don't know if he's being transformed into something.
Yeah, something's just happening to him.
He's embedded in rock.
Yeah,
and his face is burnt almost off, and then lava comes over him.
Yeah, I love this moment of Battle Beast walking into the Coalition headquarters, and Thresha saying, "Hungry I am. Eat one of these, can I?" Pointing at one of those aliens, and there's just that pause with Battle Beast. He's like, "No,
No.
That's it. That's what you hear. It's like a cat.
No. Don't do that, okay?
Anyways, he goes in. Jeez. He goes into a meeting with Alan. Alan says, if I gave you the location of a Viltrumite and the trajectory in which he left with habitable planets along the way, do you think you'd be able to track one down? And he's like, yeah, why? He says, former Grand Regent Thrag has been exiled. I want you to hunt him down and kill him. And then just that smile.
And that panel right
Thrag
there.
got the
That's
best
the
of him
beginning.
last time. And Alan, the only fucking smart one in this book. What the fuck, man?
That panel right there is very notorious Battle Beast.
Yes. Yep.
With the huge grin.
Yep. All right, issue 107. 2 more to go. Sweet cover. Love this.
Monax.
Ember and Monax. This starts with Volcana talking.
Volcanic? Wasn't it?
I think it's a Volcana. I don't
Is it?
know. Doc Seismic. Yeah. She is basically talking to the new Doc Seismic. And she's just saying, like, you will help lead my forces as the king of the underworld. So, yeah. It looks sweet. The character design is awesome on them.
Yeah.
I remember when I read this, I didn't necessarily know how I felt about it.
Yeah.
Because Doc Seismic, who's
It's
this
such
old
a-
man, like this weird, guy that could just and now he's this fucking lava monster.
Yep.
Which is very strange.
It is. Donald allows Amanda in to speak with Monax. Sweet full page splash page here.
This is a really good conversation, too.
You're right. This is a really good one. They talk more about how, like, Monax calling out Robot, saying, you actually believe him? You really think that he didn't know that I existed? You don't think he kept it from you? The things
She's
that he
saying
did,
you're
do you think
lying.
he really came back from doing stuff like that? Like,
She's saying you're lying. You're only saying things because you want to hurt me. And he's like, no, like, seriously, like, he did all these things. He's known for this. I watched my mother die right in front of me.
yeah, I love how he keeps calling her father. It's so cool. Cut to Rex saying that that they're needed. There's an attack. Great shot of Amanda running and saying, "Open the portal, I'm ready," and him opening up the portal as she's transforming into it, and it shows her
Mid-transformation.
come out the other side. And it's Volcana and Doc Seismic attacking with really cool monsters. Volcanica, you're right. And so it's Volcanica and Seismic. He's just referred to as Seismic now. But yeah, they just end up fighting. Seismic says, I'm in my new form. I'll finally be able to kill you with my bare hands. They basically beat him up. A monster, Mark goes to kill one of the monsters. Someone flies through it, beats him to it. Volcanica and Seismic escape. Mark flies up into the sky, find out who did it. It was Anissa. Mark says, I saw you spying on me and my father. Are you trying to undermine him? And she says, I was spying on you. I wasn't spying on your father. I was watching you. And she flies up to him, kisses him. He says, not cool. She says, funny, I didn't sense any resistance. Says, be seeing you, and flies away.
Oh, man.
Yeah,
The
I know.
foreshadowing there is completely different than, because you're almost like, oh, is there going to be some sort of romance there?
Oh, because she says I didn't notice resistance?
Right.
I don't know, man. I don't know if I can't remember whether or not I thought there was more to that. Mark goes home. Let's see. He's still obsessing over Angstrom, and she's calling him. Eve calls him out on that, and he says, "Yes, I am still thinking about Angstrom. He can attack at any moment. Eve, I've killed him once already myself. He came back. He figured out a way to live. I can't have this hanging over my head for the rest of my life." And then we see Volcanica and Seismic saying next time they'll be ready. And I believe the issue ends.
Do we ever see
them
anything
again.
from them?
We see them one more time.
Do we?
Yep.
So that does have a closure?
It's not really a closure.
Oh,
it's
so
just a
there is
panel
no
of them being
real next
fought.
time.
There's a panel of them being fought by Guardians or someone, and Seismic getting cut in half. Whether or not that kills him in this state, we don't know. But yeah, not really much. The issue ends with Mark receiving a phone call from Robot, and Robot saying he found a way to open up the portal. And here we are. Issue 108.
My favorite issue.
Because
This wasn't your favorite
because
issue?
it's the last.
No.
Are you saying
I'm
that
just-
because you know it's one of my favorite issues?
Yeah, because you love Angstrom and he fucking...
This is a great issue.
Probably my third favorite issue.
Really?
This is always the one that I talk about a lot.
I might like 109 more, but I haven't reread 109 in a while, so I'm really excited for the next reread because
This one is fucking
God,
nuts.
109, dude. Everything in 109.
Yeah.
Jeez. I'm sorry, volume 20. All right. It starts with Mark and Robot about to go through the portal. Mark
Wait.
and Eve. Go ahead.
I have something I wanted to talk about at this.
Say it.
So,
Say it.
I'm just gonna read what Rex is saying here. He's talking to Mark about going to another dimension. He found where Angstrom is, and he wants to take him there. And he says, "I want you both to listen to this. The device I've built will generate a field that will alter our frequency when we pass through it, similar to how Angstrom's powers work naturally. I've chosen this orbiting space station as our exit point because we will shift dimensions without changing our location. Low orbit is the safest option of a place where nothing is built where we could accidentally phase into it." What does it sound like?
Oblivion Song.
He said that he worked on Oblivion Song for 3 years before it was released. It matches up. I bet he was thinking about Oblivion Song around this time. He was building that idea, I bet. That is straight up Oblivion Song science right there.
I mean, Angstrom's powers is Oblivion Song science. It's teleporting to another dimension
but
and
how-
holding your position. And
Yes, but how he's describing, I want to do it in space. Therefore, there's nothing that we could. So
There's
so
nothing
they
we
know
can phase
exactly
into.
where
phase
we're
into.
gonna be.
I mean, that's what Angstrom
Not-
says, though.
not
Like,
just-
I marked this because I know I don't want to phase into the middle of a wall.
Not just phase into, but where he knows where he's gonna be. You know what I mean? So they don't have to change locations. He says. You know what I mean? So whatever location he's at in this dimension is the location he's gonna be at in the next dimension.
Yeah. I think that's very much like Angstrom powers, though.
Oh.
And then he
Maybe.
says we're going to go
They've
into
never
space
talked
that
about
way
that for
we could
Angstrom,
fly
though.
down. Yeah, they have. Like literally, like he marks a spot where his car is, so he knows that that's where his car is. He's like, oh, here's the X, and that's how he goes. He knows that his position won't change across the dimensions.
Remember that?
I'm pretty sure. Pretty sure it was in the first.
I don't
One of the
remember
first
that.
ones. You don't remember that either? Maybe I'm making
But the
it up.
timeline
Are you talking about before he got his
matches
powers?
perfectly.
Before he got his gigantic brain.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh
Maybe
yeah,
it
because
does
then he
sound
would
vaguely
know
familiar.
where everything is.
Yeah.
But before, because he didn't know what it was in those other dimensions, he had to go to a specific spot,
Yeah,
so
that
he didn't
sounds
port
right.
through a wall.
Yeah.
So, so yeah, after Rex explains that to Invincible, Eve tells Mark, she's like, Mark, this isn't necessary. Mark says, Eve, please, not again. Eve says, before it's too late, we need to do this. Like, yeah, end of the story. That's what I'm worried about. Rex and Amanda went into the Flaxon dimension. They didn't come back for months, and they aged 7 years where they were. Eve says this could be even worse than that. You just never know what could happen. You'd be stuck there forever. Mark says, we've been over this. And Eve says, I have a feeling. A bad feeling? Am I really supposed to put a lot of stock into that?
This conversation,
This
this conversation is like gives you that feeling like, I mean, there have been arguments obviously previous in the series, but this is the first one where you're like, oh shit, like Mark and Eve have had disagreements, but not like this before. This really felt like, oh shit, mom and dad are fighting, and not only fighting, but like kind of having some issues, like shit's getting real. Like this is brutal. Even the things that Mark said, he kind of belittled her superhero experience.
Yeah.
By saying,
he
you
says
have
you've
never dealt
fought
with anything that I've dealt with.
Yeah,
Like,
you've never dealt with anything like this. You've never fought anyone. Never done anything world threatening. And she's like, "Did you forget Conquest? Did you forget that I was? Oh, I never fought the Sequids in space. Yeah. Like
she's like, I've been here. I've dealt with this too." And he's like, "Yeah, it's not on the same level." He says, "And that's why I think this scares you because you've never dealt with anything like what I've done." Yeah.
It's such a bad fight.
She says you're obsessed, and he goes, "Yeah, I'm obsessed with keeping you safe. Obsessed with stopping people who want to kill you and our baby, our family."
Are you crazy? Back the hell up and think about the danger that is out there and how close I am to being able to stop it. What the hell has gotten into you? Is it hormones?
But he's like screaming when he's saying
You'll
this.
thank me for what I'm doing. You'll see.
When she slaps him across the face and she says,
With her hand, with the hand with the ring on it.
yeah,
very-
she says, don't be so sure. Have fun.
Oh God, that's a tough. And knowing that scene now, do you guys remember issue? Was it 133?
133?
The End of All Things Part 1.
Yeah.
130.
133.
Either way, yeah, the fight up above Oliver's funeral, and her saying, "You obsess over things. You rush into things head on. You don't think about things, think things through. Like this is a boiling point that is a defining character trait for Mark that is becoming like an issue, and that she's noticing. And this is someone who's closest to him that is pointing it out, and we're gonna see it.
This fight, I mean, it's the last time. I mean, do you guys remember the next time they talk?
Yeah.
I mean, holy shit.
Like she doesn't talk to Mark for years, and we'll talk about that in the next trade. But no, not years. Sorry, several months.
Yeah.
Several months.
6 months.
Like she.
I want to say.
He's gone.
I want to say it was.
He's
6
gone
months.
after this. After a fight like this, and then disappears.
Yeah.
So, Robot says, "All right, let's go."
But
Mark
that
has
was
this last look.
That was her worry, and the reason why she didn't want him to go is because, again, she didn't want him to, go into a dimension like Nolan always did, and then miss her childhood, which was a worry of both of theirs.
Yeah, I like how Rex says she's not happy about this, huh? And he's like, "You always were a genius." It's just the bickering that they have, kind of. I love this panel of Mark looking back as they step through the portal, and they come out on space. Rex says, "Look." And there's several Viltrumite ships, not just one command ship, but like 8. Mark says that's not good. They fly down to the planet's surface. They say their power center appears to be in Washington, D.C. They should go there. Mark says, "I'll go. Keep the device. I'll, hide. I'll come back." And then you hear "Face me." You turn around, and it's Conquest standing there. "Accompany back to the Citadel, or I will kill you both. Please resist." Yeah. They fly to the Citadel, which is the Pentagon. They walk in, and Conquest says, "We detected these 2 entering orbit. It would appear Thrag's rebels have sent a negotiator." So in this dimension, Thrag is the rebel.
It's cool that the Pentagon, it still says the Pentagon, but it has the Viltrumite symbol
The flags
all
all
around,
over it,
and it's like much taller. And,
So do you think that when Thrag found out that Mark was the rightful heir to Argyle, he overthrew him, and Thrag is the one that's the rebel because he was thrown
all
out.
he wants to do is rule.
Yeah.
That's what he wants.
So yeah, we got this panel of Mark and all the alternate Eves, or at least Eve lookalikes.
I think they did a play on this for
Rick and Morty. They did,
yeah.
Yeah, I love how he goes up to Mark and says, "I lost someone close to us. I'm sure you know who. It's hard to fill the void." So yeah, he says, Mark says that he's here to check up on Angstrom. And at one point, Mohawk Mark says, I recall my interaction with all the alternate Invincibles. We really quite a terrible bunch, aren't we? And you see Robot looking at Mark, and then they go down into the chamber where they're keeping Angstrom. And he says, "I told you I knew how to deal with his kind here." He promised me assistance, but he was refusing to help. So my scientists are going to cut it out of him. I'm only keeping him alive until they succeed. And Mohawk Mark says, "See that reaction?" Because Mark's like shocked. He's like, I can't get a read on you, man. You came here to make sure he was dead, right? Or kill him yourself?" And Mark says, "I wasn't going to torture him."
It's crazy though. Like the chains are holding from his brain.
Yeah.
Like this had to have been nuts to draw.
His teeth, like between his mouth.
Yeah.
He's just got random like things like going through
Just
his
pierced him.
arms and yeah.
Yeah.
Pipes.
That looks like a Viltrumite symbol cut into him. It is.
Oh no shit.
Ugh. Never noticed that.
Ugh.
But anyways, Mohawk Mark goes on to talk about how when I was stranded in that other dimension before we started eating each other, we talked a lot about what turned us. A lot of times it was our fathers or Eve dying or that kind of stuff. You haven't. I'm guessing that hasn't happened to you yet. You haven't yet realized how different you are from the people of this planet. How stupid it is for you to waste any time protecting them. when they could be worshiping you. What was it Angstrom said? That he was surprised so few of us were good. That was it. That's it. Turning point.
Yeah.
Robot sends out his little signal. Both of them drop to their knees. He says, I'm really sorry, but I see now that I have to do this. He kills the doctors, launches an orb into the mouth of Mohawk Mark that burrows down into his esophagus and explodes out his neck.
Oh, crazy.
And Robot says, oh, good, it worked. Mark says, why? And he says, in a second, first, Angstrom. Cuts off Angstrom says, there, that's done. And he says, what you're experiencing is the sonic level, blah. He talks about the equilibrium.
He chopped Angstrom's head off.
Yeah.
Like, fucking, this is fucking nuts.
Yeah.
This whole scene is...
And just in a panel. Just like everything that's happening in these 2 pages.
Like, Angstrom Levy just... Levy. Angstrom
Oh,
Levy.
we haven't been doing
We
it.
haven't.
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
We've been levying it up.
I've been
this
saying
entire
Angstrom.
time.
I don't think that was the first time I said
I
Levy.
definitely said Levy.
He was a main character in this series, and he got his fucking head chopped off. That's fucking huge.
Yeah. Mark says, please just turn it off. We can talk. And Robot says, you really think I'm that stupid? You've known me too long to think that. We have a long history, but I've learned a lot in the Flaxstone dimension. Monster and I were there a lot longer than we let on. I was concerned people might grow suspicious if they knew the truth. Simply put, I have big plans and you don't fit into them. I was worried I'd have to kill you, but I didn't want to have to do that. Leaving you here seems like a better option because you'll never allow me to do what I have to do. It's funny, though, as against what you were doing with Dinosaurus, it was mostly because it conflicted with my plans. It really is the most forward-thinking you've ever been. It impressed me. But seeing your potential here, no, only one of us can rule. When this portal closes, the signal will cease and you'll be fine. It was a very low range, so even the events that transpired in this room are unknown to those outside. You should have plenty of time to figure something out. But I'd hurry. Mark says no, and the portal closes. And Mark looks around and says, holy fuck.
That is one of the most insane
Single issues.
Endings of like, if I were reading this trade paperback to trade paperback and it were to end with that and I didn't have another one to go out and buy, like it would drive me nuts.
Yeah.
It would drive me fucking crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't imagine having like not having that. I mean, these days, we did. We went months or at least a month. Oh, man. Yeah. At least people these days either have the next trade or they can just buy it online. Mm-hmm. So that does it for the rereader. We'll be back next month with volume 20. 5 more of these, and we will have reread all of Invincible. I'm excited for the next one, though. I love issue 109. Issue 110 is the controversial one. That'll be interesting. But then other than that, all the robot stuff, and that's going to be fun to reread. Some quick stuff before we wrap it up. We saw Sonic the Hedgehog movie. I enjoyed it. Thought it was fun.
Did you see it, TJ?
No.
I thought you saw it.
No, I didn't see it.
You should. It was good.
It was really good.
Enjoyed it. I watched all
really
3
good.
John Wicks while I was sick. John Wick sick. Enjoyed them very much.
Still haven't seen 3.
Oh, you saw 1 and 2 though?
I saw 1 and 2 with Bill.
Yeah.
I thought they were good.
Yeah.
They were decent.
I thought you've seen the best of them, but 3 is still very good.
Yeah. I think they may be a little overrated too, but I think they were still good.
I disagree.
Yeah.
I disagree. I think they're the. I think it defines a generation in terms of action movies.
So does Fast and Furious, and that's what I think.
Fuck that.
That's what I think of for John Wick. I think it's the Fast and Furious of like gun movies. It's crazy. I mean, not that it's bad. It's good, and I like the story, but it's like crazy shit that could never happen.
I compared it to Fast and Furious. I don't think it's quite the same. I think it's again, you're comparing like 8, 9 movies or whatever to 10 movies to 3, but I can see John Wick going that direction. But we'll see.
Yeah, we can get into that. We can spend hours on that.
Otherwise, yesterday was the 2nd anniversary of Zelda Breath of the Wild, and I figured that was a good time to start playing it. So yesterday I took the day off of work, not to do this, but I took yesterday off because I hadn't had a day off in a while, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna start playing Breath of the Wild because I still haven't played it, and I played like 10 hours of it, and it was very good. I enjoyed it, so I'm gonna keep playing that. Otherwise, comics, White Knight. We already talked about it. You guys talked about it on your thing. It's amazing. It's so good. I can't wait for the last issue of this arc.
One thing I said to Ryan via text message was, it's making me remember why I fell in love with Batman.
It is
Like,
very
Batman. Again, it's
which, by the way, I do really like Pattinson's Batmobile. I think it looks awesome.
Robert
and
Pattinson's
and you could see the full
Batman
bat
movie.
suit too with the cape, and it looks fucking awesome.
I'm happy with it. I think it looks really cool.
I try to be positive when it comes to it, and I'm
really liking it.
I really like a lot of things on the Batsuit, but I hate the collar, like the Dracula fucking collar. I don't like that at all.
That's in White Knight.
I don't like. Yes, but I think it looks
Is it?
good with. Yeah, he's got that.
guess
yeah.
so.
Sean Gordon Murphy's Batman has it.
I've always
But
kind of
I
liked
Even
it.
the Batmobile is kind of Sean Gordon Murphy.
Yeah.
I don't like that on Robert Pattinson, and I don't like the lines on his
On the
forearms.
arms?
Well, some
On his
people
forearms,
think
I don't
that
like that at all.
that's like they
I'm
shoot
sure some
out
kinda-
like
yeah,
projectiles.
I just don't like the way
Yeah.
it
Oh,
looks.
interesting.
And then the Batmobile and the motorcycle, for that matter, they both look very 50s. The
Yeah.
back of the Batmobile
Kinda
looks
like that.
fucking nuts.
Yeah.
It looks awesome. The
I hope
front,
that
I
it
don't
has
know
a
if I like
style.
it.
I hope Gotham has a style. Like, I hope
If they're doing it
feels-
like that, then cool.
Yeah.
Remember how futuristic but retro the animated
Yes.
series was?
Yeah.
I think if it like
If
the
it kinda
animated series
takes
is,
that
is
kind
its
of-
own thing. Like you don't know what generation it takes place in because it's still kind of current whilst
But
being
Dark Knight is like
old.
just Chicago.
Yeah,
Like modern day Chicago.
And I think that
Which it's good for what it is.
this has the potential to create what the animated series did for, and that's me being very like
It's a hype,
optimistic,
yeah,
like
hype.
very optimistic. But I fucking love Matt Reeves. I have the utmost. Never in a million years, if 15 years ago you said, Bill, one of your favorite movies of all time is going to be fucking Planet of the Apes, I'd be like, you're stupid. You are dumb. And he did it.
Matt Reeves is amazing, and
Yeah.
I'm sure he's going to do a good job, but I can't see it right now with all the villains that are in
Yeah.
this movie and like
I know.
how they're all big actors.
Avengers. We couldn't
Oh
understand
These days,
how
I
Avengers
feel
worked.
like years ago, I'd be concerned as well. But like back in like X-Men 2 kind of days, like they were just figuring it out. But these days, I feel like they know how to do it. So,
I hope so.
I hope.
But they also know how to do it wrong. Like we've seen things after Avengers that were done wrong, like Suicide Squad,
You can't use Avengers
Justice League.
because Avengers had like how many movies
Yeah.
to build up to it?
Yeah,
to
I know,
establish
but
characters.
you don't necessarily need like who the Penguin, who all the villains are.
yeah, I
you
hope
know?
they don't. Yeah.
And I don't.
hope
And
it's
I don't necessarily.
Is it
believe
still
that-
Arkham like they originally said?
No, I don't think
That would
so.
have been cool.
No.
So-
Watchmen though, so for Watchmen,
Yeah.
would you want a season 2? If you got the choice, like we're gonna renew based on what you say next.
I feel like right after it finished, I was like, "Ooh, I want more." But then the more I thought about it, I was like, "No, like I want that nice complete ending."
think-
It's a very solid ending, and
was.
and they did say they're not doing more. Like,
Did they say that officially?
Yeah.
I thought I saw an article saying that
pretty
it was still
sure-
in question.
Oh, really? I'm pretty sure they said that.
My thought on a season 2 is that I felt like season 1 was so smart and involved with all the different things that
Yeah.
came together. I don't think that they could keep that going.
I know. I'm good without it there being more, but I loved it. Right, that does it. We're gonna wrap it up here. This is another long episode. Remember, you can email us at theinvinciblepodcast@gmail.com. Find us on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, or online at theinvinciblepodcast.com. Thank you all for listening. The outro song this episode is by our friend Wyatt Layne. You can find his music over on Twitter and
iTunes,
Spotify, SoundCloud. I was saying he's at Wyatt Layne on Twitter. Otherwise, this song is called Nameless. This is actually the last song on his album for 2019, where he did one song every month, just like in 2018. The album is called Reach Out. This song is called Nameless. Thank you, Wyatt. That does it for us, guys. Thank you. Keep an eye out. Hopefully we'll be doing something in the meantime before our next episode of the podcast. But otherwise, thank you all for listening. Thank you for listening to us for 4 years. It's a pretty
Wow. And
big milestone for us.
Many more to come.
Yep. Excited for
sure.
the next year of Invincible.
If you wanna reach out.
Reach out.
What movie?
No,
What
not
movie?
quite. Not quite. Okay, bye.
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 You suck, sir. That song gets stuck in my head once in a while for like days, and
If you wanna be free, be free. 'Cause there's a million things to be. You know that there are.